why a Jewish journalist is not allowed to be on Facebook or Twitter simply because they report the truth about Sharia law. I want to know why Silicon Valley is giving a pass to groups like Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, designated Islamic terrorist organizations who all have Twitter and Facebook pages. How come terrorists are allowed to be on social media, but a Jewish journalist isn't? I want to know.
How come oppressive Jews constantly kill Palestinians daily? How come?
Whoa. Who sent you here, Jack Dorsey?
No, I'm Palestinian. My mother and father were deported under the Patriot Act simply because they were Palestinian. You know, you're one-sided.
Why do you think that as a Muslim you deserve to have more free speech rights than I do? Why?
I'm a human being.
Why? Why as a Palestinian? How come on Facebook and Twitter, Hamas, which is a designated... You're a Palestinian. Are you here? Will you say that Hamas is a terrorist organization?
No, I won't.
No, you won't, because you support Hamas. Just like Ilhan Omar supports Hamas and refused to disavow Hamas when I asked her. So this is the problem here. We have people like this individual who's in front of me right now who are just like these representatives, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, who have refused to condemn Islamic terrorism. You have people like Linda Sarsour and Louis Farrakhan who advocate for jihad and the death of Jews, and they call for Sharia, and they are allowed to use social media, but I am not. There is something seriously wrong with that. There is something seriously wrong in this country when terrorist organizations and jihadis and people who are sympathetic towards terrorists are allowed to have free speech, but a Jewish journalist isn't. Is Twitter anti-Semitic? Does Twitter hate Jewish people? I want to know. Did you know?
That's intelligent.
Are you aware that
to a door and speak on a
the Saudi billionaire Prince
not allowing anybody else to
Al-Walid bin Talal has
a lot of
more
victims. Who's
Twitter
speaking for
stock
the dead
than
people?
Jack Dorsey?
You know?
He doubled his take of Twitter stock in 2015.
My brother was killed.
So that's right.
I'm not speaking for him.
A Wahhabist Muslim man, a Saudi billionaire, owns more Twitter stock than Jack Dorsey. That is why I have been banned. I have been banned because Silicon Valley agents like Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg are bowing to these Saudi billionaires. They're bowing to this Arab money. And what they're doing is they're now enforcing Sharia blasphemy laws.
Have you read the Sharia law?
Yes, I read Sharia law, and I know Quran chapter 5 verse 51. It says, oh, don't have the Jews and the Christians as your friends. It says to kill them. I am very well versed. Yes, it does. This Muslim man, this Palestinian man is trying to tell me that Quran chapter 5 verse 51 does not tell Muslims to hang out or be friends or befriend Jews and Christians. Can somebody please Google that so that we can read you? Because that is Sharia law. And that is the message that
I'm a Hafiz, man. I know the
Jack
Quran.
Dorsey is sending when he bans Jewish journalists like myself. Doesn't allow for jihadis like Linda Sarsour, Ilhan Omar, Louis Farrakhan, and others to be on Twitter.
Farrakhan he's not a Muslim.
I brought thousands of examples with me of verified hate. You can go on Twitter today and type in #verified hate, and you can see for yourself. You can see for yourself thousands of examples of tweets, assassination threats towards President Donald Trump, threats to kill white people, threats to kill Jewish people, terrorist threats. All of this is allowed on Twitter.
Yeah, because you have freedom of speech.
But a Jewish journalist, I don't have freedom of speech.
How not?
How come these people get freedom of speech but I don't?
How come you don't? Why
Don't let him distract you.
You see, she's one-sided.
5,000 people.
Allow
Laura,
somebody to
10,000 people are on Twitter cheering you on, so don't let her distract you.
I am here today. This isn't just about me. This isn't just about me. Jack Dorsey banned me, and yes, a lot of people know who I am because I had 265,000 followers, but this isn't just about me. This is about the millions of people around the world, millions of conservatives who are being censored by social media companies every single day. This is about the millions of hardworking Americans who have been banned from Twitter, banned from Facebook permanently without any reason other than simply because they are conservative. banned simply because they are a Trump supporter, simply because they decided to call out Sharia law or expose Islam or talk about jihadis in our government. That should not be a bannable offense. I want to know why the terrorists and the jihadis and the Jew haters are allowed to spew their actual hate on Twitter.
Are you with us?
No, I am not.
All right. Who's not with us?
I am just one of few. They banned me.
This guy?
They banned Alex Jones. They banned Chuck Johnson. They banned Milo Yiannopoulos. They banned Roger Stone.
Folks.
They banned Gavin McInnes. And they banned Tommy Robinson. And you're next. They're going to come for you next. And if we allow this to keep happening, if our members of Congress don't do something, if they don't pass some type of legislation before it is too late, there's not going to be anybody left to speak out for conservatives. There's not going to be anybody left to stick up for the Jews. There's not going to be anybody left to call out Sharia and jihad, because we will have allowed for these social media corporations to take control of the digital public square so that they can enforce Sharia and ban conservative wrongthink from the internet.
Jeff is going under investigation.
And Jack Dorsey, who I, of course, confronted during the congressional hearing when I called him out, I called him out for being a liar. And you know why? Jack Dorsey is a liar, because when our members of Congress asked Jack Dorsey if he censored conservatives, he said no. Mark Zuckerberg said no. Sheryl Sandberg said no, they don't do that. But, you know, all you gotta do is go watch the Project Veritas videos. All you gotta go do is watch James O'Keefe's investigation that he caught them on camera literally targeting conservatives, admitting that they're gonna shadow ban and censor conservatives. They were even caught on camera talking about how they targeted me. How they targeted me because of my views on Sharia. I was unverified over a year ago because of my views on Islam, my views on Sharia, and calling out jihadis who killed 8 people here in New York City. It's out of control. It is out of control. But Jack Dorsey committed perjury when he lied to those members of Congress, and they let him get away with it. And it is time to put a stop to this. We need to stop the bias. We need to stop the bias, because we are not Russian bots, right? We are not hateful individuals. We are not Nazis. We are not racists. We are not bigots. We are just conservatives. And this is America, and we have a First Amendment right.
Who else has been banned?
I never would have thought that as a Jewish conservative woman in this country, as the granddaughter of a Jewish man who was arrested by Nazis in Germany, I never thought that there would come a day where I would be permanently silenced on the internet by Twitter and Facebook simply for exposing Jew hatred, for exposing Sharia. I never thought this day would come. I never thought this day would come, that we would see rising levels of Jew hatred, that we would see, even after 9/11 and the horrors of the Holocaust, people giving into this, giving into Sharia, right? Allowing for jihadis and leftists who call for the assassination of our president. That is a crime. It is a crime in America to call for terrorism. It is a crime in America to call for the assassination of the president. But every single day, Democrats get away with it.
Against the bill, then? Guess they've been on the ballot.
Start. Look at these. Look at the papers. See them for yourself.
Thank you very much.
Share my message, you know? This is political warfare. Look at these tweets. Look at all these tweets. All of this verified hate that is allowed on Twitter. But if you're a Jewish conservative journalist like myself and you dare speak out about Jew hatred or the Islamification of this country, you will be banned. This is Twitter, you guys, where Jew hatred is okay, but if you're a nosy Jew, you're banned.
people here. Tell them the story again. A lot more people.
So Laura, what do you think was most incendiary about your tweet that got you banned?
I don't know. My tweet obviously is just a fact. I mean, I can read it right here. It says, it's on the back. You see it? They took my sign away.
It's here.
Can you bring me my tweet, please? This is the tweet that I was banned for. You tell me, officer, does this look like hate speech to you? Does that look like hate speech?
No, you just get your message out. I'm here for
I know, but I would like you to know, as an officer, is this hate speech?
That's what I'm here for.
You know, were you here on 9/11? Did you respond on 9/11? Did you see the horrors of Sharia and jihad? Did you see that? Were you here on 9/11?
You're not going to get any other answers from me. I just need you to get the cover.
Right. I find it unbelievable that in this day and age, in this city, here in New York City, Twitter and Facebook and Google and all of these big tech companies that line this sidewalk, you walk down the street, you'll find Google. All the big tech buildings are here. They are enforcing Sharia on Silicon Valley. And every day, people are wondering, why do I get shut down on social media? Why am I getting banned for posting facts about Islam? Why am I getting banned when liberals are allowed to call for the assassination of President Trump? It's just insanity. It makes no sense. Something must be done. We cannot allow for the normalization. And Mark Zuckerberg, we just can't. They're trying to influence our elections. In fact, big tech corporations like Twitter and Facebook have colluded to interfere in U.S. elections more than the Russians ever did. More than the Russians ever did by shutting people down. Did you know that Twitter shut me down a week prior to the midterm election because I was exposing high-profile leftists and jihadis, and my video investigations were so effective, I caused the Women's March to ask Linda Sarsour, who is a jihadi, a verified user on Twitter, a verified jihadi on Twitter, right? She gets to use Twitter, I don't. My video forced the Women's March to disavow Linda Sarsour and ask her to step down. And then a week prior to the election, I was suspended. And I wasn't allowed to, as a journalist in this country, put my political reports out.
So Laura, what are you hoping will come of your protest today? What do you hope will happen as a result of this?
You know, I hope that everybody can see that this is egregious. Regardless of your politics, I think that we can all agree. Someone please grab that. I think that we can all agree, if you show the comparison, who has the Farrakhan tweet. That if you get banned for this in America, but you don't get banned for that, well, the only thing I can think of is either Twitter hates Jews, Facebook hates Jews, right? Or they're biased against conservatives. So what is it? Why are you allowed to? Why is it that a Jewish journalist is getting banned? A Jewish conservative journalist is being banned from Twitter for posting facts, but then Louis Farrakhan can post, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm anti-termite, Hitler was a great man, advocating for jihad, and then he is still on Twitter. He hasn't even been suspended from Twitter. Feel free to take copies, you guys. Before it's too late. Before it's too late. Why did I handcuff myself to both?
Why didn't you? They're still giving you out.
Well, I'm not trying to trap them inside the building.
It's a fire hazard.
You know, that's a fire hazard, of course. But the issue here is that Jack Dorsey thinks that by banning me as a Jewish conservative woman for pointing out Jew hatred, I was defending women, I was defending gay people, I was defending Jewish people from bigotry and from hatred, from homophobia, from anti-Semitism, and I got banned. But that anti-Semite, that Jew hater, Louis Farrakhan, is allowed to. You know, so Twitter thinks that they can shut me down, but look at how many people are listening to me now. They may have banned me from Twitter, but now I'm handcuffed to Twitter. And look at all of these people all around the world who are now hearing my voice. Jack Dorsey will not silence me.
Hey guys, we're gonna answer this step across the street at this point? Miss?
I
know you have to step across the street.
Millions of conservatives around the
Guys,
world.
need you to step across the street out of this off the sidewalk, please. Back across the street onto the sidewalk, please.
Why aren't we allowed to be on the sidewalk?
Well, here's why, problem, man, because we don't know what this is right now, so we're asking you to step across the street till we figure this all out. So we're going to ask you to step across the street at this point. Okay, sir? Need you to step across the street at this point onto the sidewalk, please. Cannot stay in the street. Because we don't know what's going on right now, so once we figure it out, that's why we have the sidewalk closed. So I need you to step across the street, please, onto the sidewalk.
It is. It
Hold
used
up.
to be public, right?
Guys, you put them on, how do you put them onto the sidewalk, please?
Guys, do us a favor. You gotta get in the sidewalk. Ma'am, in the sidewalk. In the sidewalk.
We're not citizens. We're American citizens.
Guys, in the sidewalk,
Headquarters,
please.
so we cannot ask questions.
Guys, your foot on the sidewalk. Thank you.
So we're waiting over here. No.
Welcome to Twitter. Welcome to Twitter in New York City. Where if you call for Korea, you advocate for jihad, you're allowed to have a voice. If you want to call out female genital mutilation, homophobia, and Jew hatred, you will be banned. You will be silenced. Welcome to Twitter. Stop the bias, Jack. Stop the bias. You know, you think that you can just go to Congress, Jack Dorsey, and that you're going to lie on the taxpayers' dime under the Congress and tell us you don't set the You were caught on camera, Jack. And this is evidence. This is evidence that there is a double standard at Twitter. When this tweet gets you banned off social media forever, if that tweet doesn't, you have a serious problem. Either Jack Dorsey hates Jews, either Jack Dorsey and Twitter hates Jews, or they hate conservatives. So which one is it? Because he was testifying, Jack Dorsey said that Twitter doesn't express bias against conservatives. But no, clearly they do. Clearly they do. Just look at the Clearly they do. You know, this is equivalent to book burning. This is equivalent to modern day book burning. When you decide to basically push people into the gulag off of the web, off of the physical talking public sphere, right? You exile them simply because of wrong things. To the millions of conservatives who are watching right now, I threw away the tweet. I threw away the tweet because I'm not going to allow for Twitter or Facebook or any of these social media companies to continue to censor us. Our voice matters. Our voice matters, you guys. I threw away the tweet. Welcome to Twitter, where Jew hatred gets you verified, but if you're a nosy Jew, you're banned. On November 21st, 2018, Laura
mind you filming just for your own safety.
Sure. I'm with you, boss.
Yep, not a problem.
Were agreeing among themselves and acting as a monopoly to restrain trade and discriminate against conservatives. This is what Larry Wayman had to say on filing the amended complaint. Added as a state plaintiff today was Laura Loomer, a courageous Jewish female journalist who was just banned by Twitter's Facebook for criticizing a Muslim congresswoman. The retaliation by Twitter and Facebook as set forth in the amended complaint was not only a violation of our antitrust laws and other laws, but breach of anti-Semitism against the Jewish conservative movement. Ironically, the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is a card-carrying member of the Jewish left. And as a self-hating Jew, of course Mark Zuckerberg would sell out his own people for a buck.
Why will Laura Loomer not speak up about the Deadspin Awards happening December 5th at Irving Plaza? You can find tickets at http://www.deadspin.com. That site again is http://www.deadspin.com.
Nice.
Do I need the S on the HTTP?
http://www.deadspin.com to buy tickets. Open bar, December 5th. Why will you not speak up about the absolutely stacked category of Best Athlete Meltdown? We have Draymond Green and also Rajon Rondo and Chris Paul. And then there was a guy at LA Fitness who called 911 at a pickup basketball game.
Take a look.
Deadspin Awards, http://www.deadspin.com.
Anti-Islamic terrorism and assassination of President Trump. All of this has been allowed on Twitter. Jack Dorsey has allowed all of these threats and calls for assassinations against the president to be on Twitter. But then he wants to ban conservative Jewish journalists like myself or just conservatives in general. I don't know. I don't understand why this is acceptable. What would happen, officer, if somebody were to make a direct assassination threat against President Trump? They would be arrested, wouldn't they? They would. So why is this acceptable? It's allowing all
certain uses.
I would tweet about this, but I'm banned from Twitter. You know, all of you guys are probably on social media right now, but I can't even use my social media. I can't post this on Twitter and Facebook because I've been banned. So make sure you post about this on social media, you guys, before it's too late, before you too are banned. Because they're coming for you next, okay? They are going to come for you next. And you know, it's not just conservatives. I heard a story this past week of a progressive feminist. I think her name is Megan Murphy, right? I think you may have heard of her. And she posted something like a man is a man and a woman is a woman, like biological truth, science. And Twitter accused her of being transphobic, and they banned her account. I mean, people are now getting banned for posting facts. Facts about science, right? That if you are a man, you're a man, and if you're a woman, you're a woman. Facts about Sharia law. I mean, it is out of control what these social media companies are doing. This Twitter the other day, they shut down a combat veteran. They shut down a guy by the name of Jesse Kelly. They banned his account permanently. People who are going overseas and risking their lives fighting for us, fighting for our First Amendment right, they're shutting these people down. And it wasn't until mainstream media and people who were outraged on both sides of the aisle spoke out about it that Twitter, I guess they just decided to reverse their decision and reinstate Jesse Kelly's account. But you have to ask yourself, why is it that Twitter is permanently banning people for posting truths and science and facts and truths about Sharia? Why are they banning people for posting facts? Right? No, it is because they're controlled and one of their biggest shareholders is the Saudi billionaire Walid bin Talal. Okay? And with that comes the enforcement of Sharia on Silicon Valley. No, you may not care now, you may think. You know, first they came for Alex Jones, and then people mocked Alex Jones, and they laughed, and they said, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. Right? Alex Jones was essentially permanently banned from the internet. And people mocked him on both sides of the aisle. Right? They said, that's not going to happen to me. But look, it is. It's starting to happen to all of us. And what is going to be done before it's too late? Is somebody going to do anything before it is too late?
I am back because on my way back to the office, I was informed that not everybody heard the URL. So here it is. It is http://www.desmond.com. The reason that I provided the http:// is for the older computers or older models of phones. Once again, it is http://www.desmond.com. You can find everything there. It's going to be a great time.
You're lowering Twitter! You're lowering Twitter!
Yeah.
We're all going to be there.
We'll all be there. One of us will not be there. Be any more incentive to be there. I also get to speak about the Desmond Awards, which is happening next week.
It's the whole point of what she's
Please
doing,
do not
idiot.
silence me about the Desmond Awards, which are very important. I will not be silenced for truth.
I don't understand why, like, all these tweets of verified hate are allowed on Twitter, but when you're posting facts about Sharia law, you get banned. Why are you allowed to say things like, I hope somebody shoots Trump in the head, or I hate all white people? Why are you allowed to say stuff like that on Twitter, but then if you're a Jewish journalist like myself, you get banned? Something is seriously wrong on Twitter and Facebook, all of these companies. Why are you allowed to call for the assassination of the president and not have your account taken down, but then you're banned our speech so that they can win elections. They are protecting terrorist organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, which have verified Twitter and Facebook accounts, but then they're banning people like me, Jewish conservative journalists, simply because I expose Jew hatred, homophobia, and abuse against women.
Tell them how you feel, Laura.
You know, how is it hateful to stick up for Jews and gays and women? I don't understand.
Are you going to stay out here all night, Laura?
As long as it takes.
Hell yeah.
As long as it takes. Hey, I threw away the key, and I'm here for the millions of conservatives who have been censored by Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg. I'll be here as long as it takes.
Are you cold?
Yeah, it's pretty cold outside. It's like, I don't know, 35, 40 degrees, but that doesn't matter. What matters is our free speech, right? We need to protect our right to free speech. Facebook and Twitter are now the digital public squares. Everything takes place on Facebook and Twitter. And to just decide one day that you're going to ban an entire group of people from the internet because you don't like their opinions, that's egregious. You're cutting off nearly half of the country from participating in dialogue on social media simply because you don't agree with them. And you know what? They say that there's no bias, but I really want to know. You know, you saw my tweet right here. What was hateful about it? Why is Louis Farrakhan still on Twitter? Does Twitter hate Jews, or is Twitter biased against conservatives, or is it both?
Keep going.
I want to know. Stop the bias. Stop the bias, Jack Dorsey. And look, you know, I'm here at Twitter, and I brought these tweets, comparisons. My tweet that I stand for, and Louis Farrakhan's tweet, which is still up on Twitter. He has not even been suspended for this tweet, okay? And even now, they're trying to censor me. They took away my sign, they broke my sign, they took my tweets down so that you guys can't see it. They don't want you guys to know the truth. They don't want you guys to see this, and this is exactly what they're doing to me and millions of conservatives. They're trying to ban the truth. They want to silence us. They want to ban you from seeing the truth.
Free T-Mac.
Why else? This is a peaceful demonstration. Why else would you take down my tweets? Why are you trying to hide? Why is Twitter security trying to hide the fact that Louis Farrakhan is still allowed on Twitter, but I am banned as a Jewish conservative journalist?
They don't want to hear TM3K.
And for the members of the media who are here, take a copy of all of these verified death threats against the president, all of these verified hateful comments against white people, calls for acts of terrorism that are still on Twitter. You don't get banned for that on Twitter. But if you're a Jewish conservative journalist, or if you're just a conservative intellectual or a conservative commentator, you will be banned. You will be banned.
Don't let him silence you, Laura.
Conservative. Laura Loomer.
Oh yes, you can create actually.
Go on Comtown.
This is the tweet I was permanently banned for. Does that look like hate speech? Why does Louis Farrakhan get to say he's not anti-Semite, he's anti-termite, and not get banned from Twitter? How come he hasn't even been suspended, but then I get shut down a week before the midterm election simply because I'm an effective, conservative, investigative journalist, right? And then I get permanently banned. It's almost as if Twitter hates Jews and conservatives. It's starting to look like that. There are so many examples, right? Thousands of examples of archived tweets. If you go to my website, loomer.us, and you read my most recent article, Why I Was Banned, I have included 3 paste bins, and inside these paste bins are thousands of archived tweets from verified liberals and verified leftists who have posted assassination threats against President Trump. They've posted threats against white people. They have actually posted hateful, violent rhetoric, and it is still allowed on their Twitter. Jack Dorsey doesn't ban it. But not only was I banned, but I was also unverified. I was unverified. I was unverified. I was unverified for posting facts.
They don't like Bitcoin accounts either. What do you think about Bitcoin, Laura? Tell them what you feel.
If you're watching this, if you're on Twitter, make sure you tag Jack Dorsey. You say hashtag stop the bias, right? Just like the back of my sweater says. Hashtag stop the bias, guys. We need to stop the bias of conservatives. Because here in Twitter, they censor conservatives. They're banning conservative Jews like myself simply because we hold facts. How is this hate speech? How is that hate speech? I want to know. How come Louis Farrakhan is still on Twitter? You guys hate Jews? You guys hate conservatives? Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done about this egregious double standard.
The negotiators.
I want to be reinstated on Twitter. So you can contact Jack Dorsey, and you can ask him, I want him to stop censoring conservatives. If Jack Dorsey, you can be on the phone with Jack Dorsey, and you can tell him to stop censoring conservatives, stop banning Jews like myself, and I will leave. If he reinstates me. So maybe you guys should, because I want to look at this. Look at this. They're making Twitter respond.
She was banned from Twitter for like what? For speaking up for free speech. And she's a conservative. Well, he tweeted that against Jews, and he's still on. Oh. And she like,
Is this Twitter? And I also want to know.
she's coming on that board. It was basically standing up for Jews, females, and LGBTQ.
Like this until Jack Dorsey
She got banned. She's a conservative. She's a conservative. How many do you like? Laura Loomer. Loomer. She's no longer. I won't find her on Twitter. And Facebook banned her several hours later.
Just today?
No, she didn't. She's chained herself to the door and said Jack Dorsey in the face.
But they're allowed to go?
What's up?
See, the police officers now, for those of you who are watching, they're asking me how long they want me to be here because there's no way to really get these cuffs off because he's gone, right? As you can see, there's no way. So they asked me if I want to be here all night, and it's getting cold, but you know that's what it takes. That's what it takes. You know, when is Jack Dorsey going to stop censoring conservatives? When am I going to get my Twitter account back? I'll stay here as long as it takes. What happens if you get hungry? Well, like I said, I'll be here as long as it takes.
I'll bring you a sandwich.
As long as it takes. Because this isn't just about me. It's about all of us. It's about protecting the First Amendment. It's about protecting your right to free speech. It's about raising awareness about this egregious double standard at Twitter. Where if you're a Jewish conservative journalist or if you're just a conservative in general, you're not allowed to have free speech.
You are.
No.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Don't let them silence you. Defend me too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're banning. Raise your hand if you've been shadow banned, censored, or silenced by Facebook or Twitter. Yep, a lot of people. Probably a lot more people watching right now.
Our press kills women are abused and forced to risk jobs.
They unban me now.
It's cold out here.
Sir, sit down. Sit down.
Welcome to Twitter, where Jew hatred is okay and you get a verification mark. If you're a nosy Jew like myself, you get banned. You'll be silenced. You'll be deplatformed from the internet simply because you are a conservative or a Jew. You know, it sounds like Twitter hates Jewish people. It sounds like they hate conservatives because why is it that Islamic terrorist organizations that call for the murdering of Jews and Christians and homosexuals are allowed to have Twitter pages and Facebook pages, but I'm not allowed to, right? Isn't that weird? Isn't that kind of crazy?
Question for you. I know you guys are part of the demonstration. if you want, you see that area right there where she is? Would you like to be put into that area over there? It's not really, I mean, it's a demonstration area. It's not we hate to say the word pen. It's a horrible word to use. So is there anybody else with you that wants to go stand over there? Because we like it. We'll bring you over there once. The only thing we're going to ask you is, it's built out. You can stay inside of it. You can't be reaching over with her and everything else. All we ask you is, all right? So if you want, we're gonna walk you over there. You can stay over there with her. Because at some point, you guys understand, we're gonna have to remove her from the door. We're not gonna make her leave, but we can give you a demonstration area. That's what our goal is gonna be. All right. So whoever wants to go, we'll walk you over there now. You'll be closer to her instead of being over here. No, we got you. We got you. I just want to make sure who you guys are with.
Okay. Well,
So you could tell me if you could tell me which group you're with. So who's in your group?
Laura's best friend. Sure. Laura.
You work for a company where they censor
They said
conservatives.
we could come over in the pen.
You work for an anti-Jewish company that allows for jihadis and terrorist organizations
Inside,
to have Twitter
Yeah, he's gonna
accounts,
open up
then
for you
you're
right now.
shadow banning and you're censoring and you're banning conservatives. You guys are evil. I'm not gonna leave. I'll be out here all night. I'll be out here for days if that's what it takes. You know? I want to know why Irish fan on Twitter, the Louis Farrakhan, still has his account. It's like really cold.
Just jump. I got 10,000 people on my Twitter, on my Periscope watching, cheering you
Tell them
on.
I said hello.
They've been there the whole
And
time.
this is for all of you guys. This is for all of you guys, you know, because it is enough is enough. When are our members of Congress going to do something about the silencing of conservative voices? Enough is enough. All right? There is a terrible double standard that exists at Twitter, where if you're a liberal or if you're a Muslim, you're allowed to say and do whatever you want. Whether that's calling for Jew hatred, calling Jews termites, calling for terrorist attacks, inciting jihad like Linda Sarsour, right?
You ready for the
Or even calling for the assassination of President Trump. And enough is enough. I'm not going to leave.
What do you hope people take away from this, viewers on Twitter? What do you want them to hear from you about what you're doing?
Well, I want people to start speaking up about the censorship and the silencing and the banning of conservatives on social media. I want people to start to ask, right? Do you value free speech? Do you value living here in America, having the right to say what you want? Or do you want to live in a world where the police could come to your house and arrest you at 3 a.m. and knock on your door and throw you in jail, where you will be tortured and starved like Tommy Robinson simply for having a wrong thing, right? A thought that someone sitting in their office here in New York and Twitter, or Silicon Valley, right, with Mark Zuckerberg in California and San Francisco, if they don't like it, do you want to have your life ruined, right? They are banning people on PayPal. They are banning people. My friend Faith Goldie, for example, was banned on PayPal. They're banning people and you're not even able to make a living now. They're cutting off people's revenue. You're ruining people.
my name's Laura Loomer. I'm an independent journalist, and I'm here today to speak to you, to urge you to further look into Sheriff Scott Israel. Sheriff Scott Israel, of course, has been at the forefront of this tragedy and this controversy surrounding the handling of the Parkland shooting, also because of his direct involvement and his own personal ties to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. One thing that was extremely troubling to me during his own comments today while he was addressing questions about the school resource officer, Scott Peterson, is the topic of whether or not these officers need to be rotated. And I would argue that Sheriff Israel's statement in which he said he had no reason previously to rotate Scott Peterson is entirely false. If you recall, directly after the Parkland shooting, a report came to light that showed that Scott Peterson was involved in covering up an assault that was carried out by Brett Israel, who is Sheriff Scott Israel's son, during the time that he attended Marjorie Stoneman. And I just want to ask everybody here today, if you think that it is right, that it is moral, it is ethical to have a sheriff who claims to care about student safety, who claims to care about having people in positions of power who can do their job, when he himself has been directly involved in covering up incidents of abuse and bullying and assault carried out by his own son while he was a student there. And, you know, if you look at this entire situation, regardless of whether it be Brett Israel and Sheriff Israel, there's a lot of things that Sheriff Scott Israel has done that have been extremely unethical. I would like you all to ask, does anybody here think that it is right for Sheriff Israel to have signed off on Nicholas Cruz to have been able to register to vote on July 25th, 2018 from the Broward County Jail, where he was able to register to vote despite the fact that he murdered 17 people? Because that, obviously, I mean, a lot of people here, upon hearing that, it opened up a lot of heartache and a lot of pain for the community, and I think that Sheriff Scott Israel has a lot to answer to. Sheriff Scott Israel received a vote of no confidence from majority of the officers here in Broward County, and he is completely unfit to continue serving as the Broward County Sheriff, and I think that everybody in this room would agree. His handling of this situation has been entirely atrocious, along with Robert Runcie as well. And I hope that Robert Runcie, now that he has won his election to continue being superintendent, I hope that they seriously consider the Promise program, because it's getting people killed. And under no circumstance whatsoever should students be allowed to commit crimes and assault people and be able to not go to jail simply for the sake of the county receiving more funds for the government to keep these kids out of jail. If you commit a crime, regardless of how old you are, and you're attending the public school system, you should go to jail. And if Nicholas Cruz would have been sent to jail instead of being protected by Sheriff Scott Israel and Robert Runcie, this probably could have been avoided. You know, the fact that this was reported to the FBI numerous times, and the fact that Sheriff Scott Israel and deputies received multiple reports to respond to Nicholas Cruz's home, this is on law enforcement. And regardless of what Sheriff Scott Israel says, however much he wants to protest against guns, he has a lot to answer to. And I would also like to point out the hypocrisy of Sheriff Scott Israel claiming to be anti-gun and to get AR-15s off the street when he is being represented by Stuart Kaplan, who is a former FBI agent and is also representing the gun store that sold Nicholas Cruz the AR-15, which he used to kill the 17 victims. So thank you so much for listening to me today, and I sincerely hope, like I've stated, that you know, all of you take into consideration whether or not Sheriff Israel should even be continuing his position as Broward County Sheriff, because trust me when I say that he has a national reputation for being a disgraceful individual. Thank you.
The last comment card that we have is Michael Cervola.
Hi, this is Richard DiNapoli, Broward GOP State Committee man, here at the Fort Lauderdale Airport. I got a call from an Avis rental employee that he had contacted the sheriff's deputies upstairs at the airport, and they weren't interested in reporting this. So he contacted me, and it turns out there were some provisional ballot boxes and other materials from the supervisor of elections left within a Avis rental car. And the rental car was rented to a gentleman by the name of Noah Holloman, who's a Democrat who actually donated to Andrew Gillum, and I believe the sheriffs are coming right now. I just saw a car come by right there. So they're here right now, and you can see the ballot box inside the building right there.
Hey everybody, Laura Loomer here. So I'm currently on the scene of the Broward County Supervisor of Elections office, and we just had a major developing story that took place in Fort Lauderdale that captured the attention of the national media, and it's a top story right now on Twitter as well. There was a lockdown of the Fort Lauderdale airport because bomb squad was on the scene, and Broward County Sheriff's Office shut the airport down over a suspicious package and a bomb threat. Well, prior to this even happening, I had already received a tip and was working on this story because an Avis employee at the Fort Lauderdale airport, and Avis is a rental car company, found a provisional ballot box that had markage and codes from the Broward County Supervisor of Elections office in the back of a rental car, just abandoned. I mean, can you imagine this? It's just unreal what we're dealing with here in Broward County, Florida. And so I was immediately on the phone contacting a couple sources of mine, and they immediately contacted Richard DiNapoli, and then he made his way over there and was able to get in before the whole airport was shut down. And so we're going to interview him and have him tell his story right now about what he saw inside this Avis rental car center.
Okay.
Just introduce yourself for those who are watching.
Richard DiNapoli, Broward GOP State Committee man, also an attorney here in Broward County.
So what happened after we were in contact on the phone? I know you made your way over there, and so what did you see inside Avis exactly?
Yeah, the Avis gentleman had contacted me, and I informed me about it, and I went there, and also in between that time frame contacted some police contacts of mine who alerted the FDLE, that's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who then alerted the Broward Sheriffs. The Avis employee said that he had already tried to alert some of the Broward Sheriff's deputies at the airport, but they didn't seem to be interested in this particular thing. But basically, he said that there was a car rented that was returned, and this box and another box that was red in color were left in the back of the car or in the trunk, and then it ended up being deposited in this very remote location inside the Fort Lauderdale airport in the depths of the parking garage, where they have an Avis rent-a-car little hut where they keep some storage items. And in there you can see the picture of the ballot box marked provisional ballots, and then there was another box that was red in color, and it was sealed with twist ties.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and so what we know right now, we have the pictures, we have the video of these boxes that are marked with the Broward County Supervisor of Election, where we're currently standing right now in front of the Broward County Supervisor of Election office, of course, which is at the epicenter of this voter fraud fiasco that's really captured the nation's attention, as there's a statewide recount ordered by the Secretary of State here in Florida. And it's crazy because according to this Avis employee, the records from this rental car show that it was last rented to an individual with an email that ended in @broward.org. So he's a Broward County employee, and his name is, according to the Avis employee.
According to the Avis employee, he told me his name was Noah Holloman, Holliman.
And there was some investigating done on Noah's background and his family's background, and the conclusion so far is that he's a registered Democrat here in Florida, and he's a Broward County employee, and his wife Tiffany has donated to the Andrew Gillum campaign, correct?
I don't know if it's his wife, but it is a relative named Tiffany.
Tiffany. Well, a relative named Tiffany who is on his profile, of course. So this is a developing story, very salacious information right now, very scandalous, I might say.
coming out of Broward County, Florida, of course, which is run by Brenda Snipes, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who else? Sheriff Scott Israel. Lots of nefarious characters who have really been in the media eye, the public eye over the past few months. Broward County has seen a lot of really weird things. Isn't that weird? So many weird things happen here in Broward County. I'm just starting to wonder if it's a coincidence or, you know, there's something really weird here in Broward County.
There's something in the water. I don't know.
Something in the water.
It was funny. The Avis employee said he'd rather have Wesley Snipes running the supervisor's office than Brenda Snipes.
Wow.
And that was a direct quote from the Avis employee.
Wow.
But this just shows, you know, the fact that this stuff happens, the incompetence, the malfeasance that goes on here in Broward County with our supervisor elections. This isn't the first time that something has gone wrong. There's been lawsuits. There's been, past occurrences of problems with vote totaling, vote gathering, and here we are Sunday night, and ballot boxes are still being discovered in strange locations.
I mean, of all places, in the back of rental cars, and thank God for this Avis employee who had enough common sense to contact somebody so that law enforcement could be contacted. But you yourself witnessed two Broward County sheriff deputies on the scene. One of them, do you recall their name?
I waited till I got there. One of them was Jeremy Hansen.
Jeremy Hansen.
And they were very professional, and and everybody seemed to be looking to take care of these. They took these boxes into evidence, and I'm not sure if they're going to bring them here to the Lauderhill Supervisor Elections Office or bring them to some type of evidence gathering room for the Broward Sheriffs.
Yes, and an official police report has been filed over this, of course. There's a police number that will be included in my report as well.
Yep,
but I just want to thank you so much, and the people of Broward County should really be thankful to you for your diligence in racing over there on a Sunday night. And, it just shows your dedication that you're here. It's almost midnight, and you are here to supervise this evening, and more people need to, because this is this is a total systemic sabotage of democracy, and it undermines our entire election process here in Florida. And just the fact that Andrew Gillum is once again tied to this through this individual's family member, and the fact that Brenda is reportedly at an event with Andrew Gillum tonight as well, 15 minutes away from the airport. Not saying that it's connected, but it's kind of interesting how Brenda, at this church tonight, where she's reportedly a member, and Andrew Gillum was hosting a campaign event, even though Ron DeSantis already won the election. So we will keep you all updated on this developing story. You can subscribe to LauraLoomer.us and follow me on Twitter at LauraLoomer. And where can people follow you on Twitter?
Richard DiNapoli, that's D-E-N-A, P as in Paul, O-L-I.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And it's an exciting night here in Broward County, and I'm on the ground following the election closely, and I'll be sure to keep you all posted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a couple of questions? We're on a live stream. There's 2,000 people watching.
Sure.
So you said your name is?
Leonard Samuels, counsel for the Florida Democratic Party.
Right. So, given your own personal opinion, and as a lawyer, of course, do you think that it's appropriate for Brenda Snipes to be overseeing this, given the fact that a judge ruled that she already destroyed ballots in the race between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Tim Canova? I mean, doesn't that seem a little unethical for her to be overseeing this?
Of course, she should oversee it. She was appointed by a Republican governor, Governor Jeb Bush.
Right.
She's been reelected several times by the voters of Broward County. He made that having all the information possible on the ballot. There's been not one iota of fraud. There's been not one iota of corruption.
There has, though. The judge ruled that she destroyed ballots in the race between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Tim Canova. So how can you say that there's not any shred of evidence for corruption when she destroyed ballots? I mean, if you were an election supervisor, shouldn't destroying ballots be an automatic disqualification for you to oversee an election?
I don't qualify that as fraud or corruption.
You don't qualify destroying ballots, legitimate ballots, as fraud or corruption?
It was way after the election. Debbie Wasserman Schultz
But it doesn't matter.
won that election.
Consider that fraud, and you're a lawyer for the Democrat Party?
I do not believe right now in this process here today there has been any evidence of fraud or corruption.
I'm not talking about that. My question was, should she or should she not be overseeing this, given her record of corruption and destroying ballots?
I don't agree with the premise of your question.
You're a lawyer. You're saying that there's that's not corruption or fraud to destroy ballots. That is the definition of corruption or fraud when you destroy ballots.
I don't agree with what you're saying. There's been no evidence of any fraud or corruption.
A judge in Florida ruled that she destroyed ballots.
Can we do an interview? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing an interview too. I don't know if you think you're like more important than me or something.
No, but he's finished.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm done right now.
Well, thanks for coming in.
I'm good. How are you?
It's my job to represent the governor. I started saying the president. That was 18 years ago, the governor. And to represent his interests to make sure that there are not illegal votes that are put into this system. That's it. Pretty simple.
How many illegal votes have been put into the system so far? How many as of now do you know of?
You heard the rules. I'm not going to.
All right.
Don't know.
The canvassing board votes to direct the supervisor of elections office to begin a machine recount for these 4 races. Yes.
I second that motion.
Wait, let's hear from.
I just wanted to mention the difference in the types of races that we may be looking at, the manual versus.
So my motion right now pending is that I've made a motion that the canvassing board direct the supervisor of elections office to commence a machine recount of these 4 races that have been identified as qualifying under the statute as requiring that. Second that?
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. And we would direct the supervisor of elections to begin conducting the machine recount on those 4.
Anything else before you say?
Brenda, do you really think you're qualified to be overseeing this, given that you destroyed ballots in the race between Canova and Wasserman Schultz? A judge found that you destroyed ballots. Do you think that you're qualified to be overseeing an election? Doesn't want to answer that question, of course. She put her hand up. Apparently she thinks that she should still serve as a supervisor of election when she destroyed ballots. I see you're campaigning with Stacey Abrams.
Thank you.
Do you plan on giving any of your book money to the Pollock family?
I'm not.
Oh, but you live in Broward County, don't you? Broward County, Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, so what are you doing here for Stacey Abrams?
We're not.
We're here right now. This is Stacey Abrams.
We're having a Get Out the Vote concert down the street, and we just happen to be in the area setting up.
Oh, so you're doing Get Out the Vote for Stacey Abrams?
No.
For young people.
For young people, for morally just leaders.
Okay.
I do not believe that weapons of mass destruction like the AR-15 belong in civilian hands. And I don't think any. I do. I think they should be prohibited from civilian use.
Can you tell me a little bit about your Get Out the Vote initiative?
Do you have something else to do?
What?
What are you doing today?
Oh, I was just asking you guys some questions about who you're here working with, because it looks like you're working with the Stacey Abrams campaign.
No, we're doing an event next door. Yeah, we're doing an event next door. Not related at all. We're out here in Georgia, and we are at a voter. We're out here making sure people know that voting is easy. We have buses over there.
How is it not related? You're right next to her motorcade.
It just happened.
What's your name? I mean, it just doesn't seem very transparent that you're trying to, hide the fact that you're doing Get Out the Vote with Stacey Abrams. How's your book tour going along? Do you plan on giving any of the money to the family members of actual victims who died in the shooting? Or are you having fun, making money off of dead victims, Stephen? I see you're campaigning with Stacey Abrams. Do you plan on giving any of your book money to the Pollock family? I know that you wouldn't let them speak at your event.
I'm talking to him. He doesn't want to.
You're right up on top.
I guess he doesn't have a CNN script.
You're right on top. So give him some personal space.
Hey, Stacey, you keep dodging my question, but I really want to know. Will you
Excuse me, real quick. Excuse me. We ain't doing that right now. We ain't doing that right now.
Miss Abrams.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Laura Loomer. I'm a Jewish voter, and I just wanted your comments on yesterday's attack at the synagogue.
When I say when, you say Abrams. When? Abrams.
Stacey, she's our governor.
Stacey, you keep dodging my question, but I really want to know. Will you
Excuse
disavow
me, real
Linda
quick.
Sarsour?
We ain't doing that right now.
Yesterday, 11 Jews were killed at a synagogue, and you've been endorsed by Linda Sarsour. You campaigned with her. A few weeks ago, she said that we shouldn't humanize Jews. Will you disavow her? Because I just don't think that it's acceptable for a future governor of Georgia to have anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish friends.
You're not in the right place.
Will you disavow Linda Sarsour, Miss Abrams?
Just relax. You know, we get
I
that
can't
talk in.
relax. 11 of my people were killed yesterday, and she's campaigning. What do you have to say about that, Common? I mean, do you care? Do you even care? You know, 11 Jews were killed yesterday, and Stacey Abrams is campaigning with a Jew hater, Linda Sarsour.
But Stacey is putting in that energy to bring everybody together and give everybody opportunities that's going to allow Georgia to have an impact to help change the world, man. And that's what Georgia has, that ability. And we need to see a woman in leadership that way. We need to see people that are full of love, that want everybody to have opportunities.
How is Linda Sarsour a candidate for all? How is Stacey Abrams a candidate for all when she's campaigning with Jew haters like Linda Sarsour? Kanye's right. You should vote Republican, not Democrat. I stand with Kanye West.
Hey, I'm Andy Pollock, and my daughter Meadow was murdered February 14th at Parkland at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. I'm urging everyone, all the Jews in the community, not to go out and vote Democrat for governor or for the Senate, U.S. Senate. It means so much to me to get Ron DeSantis elected. As a Jew, I don't see how anyone could vote for Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum was against moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Okay, Ron DeSantis actually and Governor Scott were in Israel for that epic day when we did move the embassy. Another thing, Gillum is against the voucher program. At my temple, the yeshiva gets over $1 million from the state in vouchers to help with subsidized tuition for kids going to the yeshiva. So Andrew Gillum is against that. So that would hurt my temple personally, a vote for Gillum. Ron DeSantis is for the voucher program. Andrew Gillum is against the voucher program that would allow my temple to receive that money to help with that private Hebrew school. So please, I urge all the Jews, get out and vote. Don't just vote party line, okay? It's horrible, okay? Vote for the supporter of Israel and who would support our private schools for all these Jewish kids that need it going to these yeshivas. Vote for Ron DeSantis and vote by November 6th. Thank you.
Well, I was at the
I think it's called Hester Zell Park. I brought my DeSantis sign, and I was standing there all day long, and one of the people for Andrew Gilliam all day kept telling me that he hates whites and that I should be thankful for the black man because there wouldn't be a white race if it wasn't for the black man. And he kept at me, and I said, young man, I'm older than you. Respect your elders. He said, you're not my MFing male elder. You never will be. You're white. I hate you. I hate you. So this was going on all day long. So I would turn on my music and just ignore him. Well, then a little bit later, my friend comes, and she also stands for DeSantis, and they have a little, she's sharing with him about his beliefs. Thank you. Thank you. President Trump loves you. And so she was sharing a little bit, as you'll see on the video, and then he goes and he accosted me, and then he stole my phone, and then he vandalized my phone, and he took it from me with all his hate and smashed it on the sidewalk. I couldn't get anything out of my phone for days, and then he also lied on his, which was committing perjury, on his affidavit of what he said that really happened. He said I was in his space and he popped it out of my hands.
So Andrew Gillum's one of his supporters,
yes.
He's at the poll.
Javis Russ, yes.
What's his name?
Javis Russ.
Javis Russ. So he physically assaulted you,
yes,
and I've seen the video. Everybody can watch this video.
Yes.
He grabbed your phone,
yes.
and he broke it?
Yes.
And you had to buy a new
phone. On the floor, and I had to buy a new phone.
And you filed a police report?
And I filed a police report.
And what happened?
And so what happened is they were giving me a little bit of a runaround. I had a sergeant call me that night at 8 o'clock because he couldn't talk amongst the other police officers that were there. And he said that I needed to go and take it to the evidence department or to the technology department to see if they could extract that video.
Yeah, your fake Jesus.
Is he yours?
Hell, fuck no.
What are you?
Don't worry about what I am.
You are a Muslim.
Oh, I'm a Muslim? No, I think she's a Muslim. The lady that's recording right here, I think she's a Muslim. I think she's a Muslim.
Give me my phone.
We're in the middle of a community here in the middle of Minneapolis. There's trash all over the streets. It's very dirty here. And this is a town that has a leftist mayor, all right? His name is Jacob Fry, and he's endorsed people like Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, and other leftist and Somali candidates. So this is the entrance to Tent City. We're going to take a look inside and see what's going on and why people have decided to set up a tent city in the middle of Minneapolis, why there's so many people here, and why they've decided to live in tents. We're just independent media. We just came to check things out and find out why people have decided to gather here and set up tents, because there hasn't really been much media coverage of the tent city, and we're just interested in finding out, why people are here.
Well, for one, everybody here is homeless, or drug addicted, drug and alcohol related.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just looking for housing.
Housing.
So, yeah, we're looking for affordable housing. Where Indians are all about extended family, and I think we're just getting a bad rap. Somalians came here and they got all kinds of free money, and housing went up, condos went up, and yet here we are, Native Americans, native to this land. We have one project.
We're still in line waiting
we're still in line. We're still in line waiting for affordable, decent housing without cockroaches and gang-related issues.
And it just boggles my mind that, you know, we got Somalians here that come from a different country and they get bumped right up to the front of the Section 8 list when we're still waiting 2-3 years down the line yet.
Townhouses, condominiums
we're
go
here
up.
struggling right now. trying to
Vehicles, food
do what we
stamps,
can do.
cash.
Just to-
How long have you been homeless for?
I've been homeless 2.5 years.
And do you think that all of the aid here is going to the Somalis who are coming and being brought in by the Democrats?
For sure, yeah. I tried to claim refugee status. The federal government controls our blood quantum on the reservation. You can't be a refugee unless your government's trying to kill you. I was denied. So I fled the reservations to try to come find work and a better future for my children, and all of a sudden, like, somebody gets a federal allotment for me being alive, but yet here there's nothing.
Yeah, so I know that the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, he's actually endorsed Ilhan Omar, who's a Somali woman who's running for office, and he promised that he was going to get everybody here in the tent city housing by the end of September. Well, it's the end of September and you guys don't have housing, and he's just endorsing Somali candidates. Has he come back to the tent city to give you guys an update on whether you guys...
No, he hasn't. We had to hear about it in the paper, and I don't expect him to come back here. They want to move us to a different location. But again, it's just going to be a trail of tears. We don't want to move. We want to get into housing right from here. So once we move, they're just going to keep moving us, and then people just keep dying here of drugs and alcohol and heroin, and the cops know it, and they're not putting a stop to it. Nobody's being arrested.
And if you could tell the mayor of Minneapolis anything, if you could send him a message, what would it be?
We ain't going nowhere anytime soon. So each and every one of these people are in affordable housing.
So it looks like there's even children who are living here too, because there's children's bikes and children's toys, and it appears to be mostly Native Americans here in the community who are not getting the social services that they need, or the social services that have been promised to them by the Democrats in the state of Minnesota. People like the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, who's campaigning alongside leftists and Somali candidates like Ilhan Omar. He's endorsed Ilhan Omar, and they're just giving all the social service money to Somalian refugees or people who are just being imported from faraway lands, and they're not even taking care of the people who live here in Minnesota. Why are the Democrats in Minnesota bringing in so many people from Somalia and other places, giving them refugee status, and then giving them the services that should be going to people like the people here in this community who are now forced to live in tents on the side of the street? You can see it's not a very safe situation, and it's pretty cold out here right now, and it's probably going to start snowing in about a month or two. So what are they going to do when it starts to snow here? My name is Laura. What's your name?
My name's Mike.
Mike, what do you think is the biggest problem? Why is it that, you see other individuals living in Minnesota who are given kind of expedited public housing, Section 8 housing, and social services, but why is it that, they've neglected the Native American community?
Yeah, we get a lot of complaints from our residents here about that,
That's very unsanitary, and we're just kind of wondering
situation to have needles just out in the open on the side in an open container where people could trip over them, they could accidentally prick themselves, people could reuse the needles.
Was 104 tents, and that was about a week ago. Now I count there's almost over 130 tents here. Once it hit the news and reporting of this with the mayor and a woman of a state legislative, the senator, Patricia Ray Torres. Yes. She come out here promising things. She actually came here to pick a group of us up of 13 people to go and vote, and particularly to vote for her, supposedly. Like I said, she come here promising things. You know, we're gonna get you on housing, we're gonna get you a house, you know, we're gonna get you a place to live, you need running water, you need toilets, and so forth like that, sewage. And like I said, she promised these things to us, saying, you know, they're gonna bump us up on Section 8.
So what did the mayor say? He said the mayor came here too.
The mayor came here too, more or less. He was supposed to walk through. He never did. He only stayed in the front, which was only 1 or 2 tents. And
when was that?
They showed him being video camera and taping of him handing us food and whatnot. Well, the food he bring bag lunches, was only enough for maybe 6, 7 people. You know, there was over 20 of us here, and I walked down there and I said, well, where's the mayor at? You know, and he was already gone. You know, the mayor and the chief of police or whatever.
Jacob Fry.
Yep, he was here.
This is the result of Democrat policies here in Minnesota and Minneapolis. You can see in the distance at the end of Kansas City, that's Little Mogadishu. So as you can see, Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, is definitely enabling this situation, this tent city, to be positioned here on the side of the highway, and it's directly across from a child's playground. Pretty dangerous and concerning situation. I mean, we showed you the needles. We interviewed people who told us firsthand that there is drug use here. Why is it that they're allowing this to continue? It's a public safety concern, a public health hazard, and it's something that Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, and the Minneapolis police and the Democrats who control the city need to get under control.
How are you? Are you a big fan of the creepy porn president?
You claim to care about women so much.
I do. I represent. That is ridiculous.
You can have your fancy dinners at friends.
I have $1 billion. I have $1 billion. I have $1 billion in verdicts and settlements long before. Are you going to let me finish, or are you just going to bark at me?
I know you love talking.
Are you going to keep barking at me?
Keep talking. Evidently, so do you.
Before I ever met Stormy Daniels, I had over $1 billion in verdicts and settlements. I was a highly successful attorney with nearly 20 years of experience. So you have no idea what you're talking about. Are you going to let me finish? Are you going to let me finish?
You know those allegations.
Are you going to let me finish? No, they're 100% true. Why wouldn't you let the FBI? Why wouldn't you let the FBI investigate? Why is your president? Why is your president?
He's your president too.
No, he's not my president.
Yes,
no, he's not.
No, he's not my president.
Country. No, he's not.
You know, you lost the case, and now the money is going to go towards Donald Trump for his legal fees.
That's not true. You don't know what you're talking about. I 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 don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Avenatti, creepy porn lawyer. Even the liberals laughed at you, you creepy porn lawyer. You pushed fake rape allegations against Brett Kavanaugh.
No, they call me a creepy porn lawyer because they know that I'm going to kick your president's ass if I run against him in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to beat him. I'm going to destroy him.
And you want to challenge John Jr. to an MMA fight. Why don't you fight me? Fight me. Your client now has to pay Donald Trump. How does that work?
That's not true.
Brett Kavanaugh did not organize any gang rape. Even the liberals are laughing at you because your accusations.
You know what?
You know what? I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna take him off.
Show me a single form of evidence that shows. Bye, creepy porn lawyer. Bye. You just got murdered, Avenatti.
And I hope that when we stand up to those who oppress our communities, that Allah accepts from us that as a form of jihad.
People can reach me on Twitter. I'm looking for suggestions. I am from New York. I live in New York. I was here in New York on 9/4.
My name's Laura Loomer. I'm a conservative investigative journalist. My question is for you, Alyssa Milano. You are friends with Linda Sarsour, and both of you ladies have positioned yourself as speakers and representatives for the Me Too movement. I want to ask you right now to disavow Linda Sarsour because she is a supporter of Sharia law. And under Sharia law, women are oppressed. Women are forced to wear a hijab. And in Iran right now, you're talking about. Excuse me, let me talk. You are talking about being a representative for women. I would like to ask my question. I would like to ask my question.
No.
Your question.
I'm asking it. My question is, will you please disavow her because she is advocating for Sharia law?
She's not.
She's not.
But thank you so much for your question.
She actually did.
What did she say?
When she enforced Sharia law. No, please. And you also tweeted in 2012, Bill Clinton, I love you so much. Crazy amounts of love.
Yes. Yes, I did. Thank you for your question. Oh, I don't think that's true.
Journalist. If it's true or helpful.
Listen,
Excuse for a reason.
Can I say something to you?
Wait, folks.
Can I say something?
There's no need to boo.
There's no need to boo. It's fine. But
Actually, God wanted
if
to answer the question she might have wanted to hear.
Excuse me. If we don't learn how to talk to each other, we're never gonna.
I asked you a very polite question.
With a very distinct tone. I wish you well. God bless you. I answered 2 questions of yours. Thank you so much. You well.
Hi.
Sir, hi.
Sorry about that. So I'm a student reporter
Why do I have to leave?
Because I'm not telling you that you must leave. Okay?
Why? I'm a Jewish woman. You're kicking a Jew out of a synagogue?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. Come on.
By who? Who doesn't want me here? I'm a journalist. Do you want to see my press credentials?
No, I don't care about that. Come on, you have to leave. You have to leave.
I'm a Jewish woman in a synagogue, and you're telling me I have to leave a synagogue.
Yes.
What is this, like Nazi Germany?
Miss,
You're kicking people out for their political views?
One more word, you will be kicked out. I'm telling you
Is it because I'm a conservative Jew? Is that the reason why?
Let me talk.
Then what is the reason why you're kicking a Jewish woman out of a synagogue? Andrew Gillum is not a Jew. I'm a Jew.
Okay, that's got nothing to do with why we're asking you to leave.
This is a synagogue. This is my place of worship. I'm a Jew. Why are you kicking a Jew out of a synagogue?
We need you to stand up and leave the property,
I
please.
am not going to leave right now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like, there's no reason to make me leave. This is ridiculous.
That's their opinion.
Nazi
They're asking
Germany
you to leave.
tactics of making people leave
We're not
because
going
of
to
their
continue
political
to ask
views.
you.
I want to know you. I'm a journalist. I have a constitutional First Amendment right to be here. You know, my grandfather was arrested by Nazis in Germany. You are behaving just like the SS did when they kicked people out. They tried to oppress them for their views. This is ridiculous. You're kicking a Jewish woman out of a synagogue. Why are you kicking a Jew out of a synagogue? Are you kidding me?
No.
You are kicking a Jew out of a synagogue. This is an abomination. You are kicking a Jewish journalist out of a synagogue. Am I correct? You're kicking a Jewish female journalist out of a synagogue without reason. Why are you kicking a Jew out of a synagogue? This is total Jew hatred. You're going to let Andrew Gillum, who stands with CARE, a designated Islamic terrorist organization, speak inside your synagogue, but you're kicking out a Jew? I'm a Jew. I'm a conservative Jewish woman. This is disgraceful. My name is Loomer. I'm a conservative investigative journalist. It's great to be here, and I really just want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, I'm going to talk, and we'll take some questions.
You're running to be senator, right? But I want to ask you, you're running to be senator, and you talk about energetic activism. Are you going to condemn Antifa, sir? I understand your son Woody Kane is a member of Antifa, a domestic terrorist organization. I brought this for you, Senator Kane. You said we need to take the fight to the street. Why should the people vote for you as senator when you're advocating for violence?
Fight in the streets, fight in the streets, fight in the streets.
Son is a member of Antifa. This is Woody Kane. Your son is a member of a domestic terrorist organization. Will you condemn Antifa? Will you condemn Antifa?
Fight in the streets, fight in the streets, fight in the streets.
Maxine Waters told me to confront you.
You need to leave. This is a private property.
Cory Booker told me to get in your face.
But let me get to the
Cory
punchline.
Booker told me to get in your face, Senator Kane.
In this race,
Maxine Waters said to confront Democrats in public. Please condemn Antifa.
Fight in the streets, fight in the streets, fight in the streets.
energetic activism.
This is energetic activism, Senator Kane. Energetic activism. Why would anybody want a senator who incites violence? Why should Republicans vote for you? How are you going to represent your Republican constituents when you're inciting violence against conservatives? Hi, Mr. Sisolak. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. My name's Loomer. I'm a conservative investigative journalist.
No. I'm in the middle of a meeting. We are in the middle of a meeting.
I know, I'm sorry, but you are running for office.
But you're in the middle of a meeting. How about that?
Yeah, but I want to ask you a question because you're running for governor and you have some very, controversial stances on guns. For example, you're talking about how you want to ban assault rifles and bump stocks. And you're going to go after Donald Trump and the NRA, but then you also are in favor of sanctuary cities. And you don't
We're in a meeting. You're in the middle of a meeting. How about you wait for the end of the meeting?
Well, he's running for office.
But what does it have to do? I have a private meeting.
Well, I'm so sorry. You can always have your meeting another time.
Please, we'll meet with you another time.
And I want to know, how is it that you're not going to deport the illegal aliens who are here, but then you're also going to ban guns and prevent people in Nevada from protecting themselves? Are you aware that there were over 10 killings as a result of illegal members of MS-13, the gang? They killed innocent people in Nevada who otherwise probably could have protected themselves. You want to take away their right to have guns? It's also interesting how your gun policy is directly attributed to the Las Vegas shooting, yet, your buddy Sheriff Lombardo hasn't even really released all of the evidence pertaining to the Las Vegas shooting. We don't even have a motive. Doesn't want to answer questions.
As a concerned Nevada citizen,
why should you be so rude?
Well, because Nancy Pelosi told me to attack anyone that...
Yeah, Maxine Waters, you're a Democrat. Maxine Waters.
Where's the accountability on the GoFundMe account for the survivors and the victims of the Route 91 festival?
Officials in public and ask them questions. So I just want to know, do you think it's fair to the people of Nevada if you want to take away their right to have guns, but then you also want to allow for all these illegal immigrants into your state? Do you want more MS-13 killings?
Please.
Do you think it's fair?
So you want to take away people's Second Amendment right to protect themselves, the right to own and bear arms, but then you want to allow dangerous criminals and illegal immigrants like the MS-13 killers who are responsible for 10 killings that Sheriff Lombardo, your buddy, who you've been campaigning with, tried to cover up. It wasn't until I released my investigative report that showed that he was covering this up. You had people that were getting their bodies mutilated and dumped by Lake Mead. What do you have to say to that? Do you think that the people of Nevada should have to be subjected to that? The Democrats said that we should be confronting people in public and asking them to talk about their positions. Do you think it's fair, Mr. Sisolak? Would you also like to talk about your own Me Too scandal with your 16-year-old daughter? Do you believe survivors? I know the Democrats have made it their position to believe all survivors.
You know, it's part of business. They ask you to leave. If you don't leave, you can get arrested.
Oh, you're going to have me arrested?
Absolutely.
You're going to call Sheriff Lombardo, have me arrested? Do you think that it is fair to ban assault rifles and take away the people of Nevada's right to own guns, their Second Amendment right, and then also simultaneously allow for your state, the state of Nevada, if you become governor, to be overrun and infiltrated with illegal immigrants? Mr. Sisolak, what are you going to do to secure the border? You're calling Donald Trump's rhetoric racist, and you're saying that his policies are racist, but he isn't saying anything racist. He's talking about how MS-13 is killing people. They're killing people in this state, the state that you live in.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but...
And if you're the Clark County Commissioner, why haven't you and your colleagues worked to expedite the process of the release of the Las Vegas shooting evidence? Your gun policy is completely based off of what happened here in Vegas, but there's also evidence that shows that this was an ISIS terrorist attack.
Recently, I've been made aware of what I believe to be credible evidence or credible information regarding potential terrorist infiltration through the southern border regarding this incident.
What do you have to say about that? What do you have to say about ISIS terrorists who are crossing over through the border illegally?
I apologize, but you're breaking our third place environment policy.
What is it called?
It's called our third place environment policy.
Workplace environment. He's a public official. He's running for governor.
I totally understand, but we
He's running for governor, and he wants to take away the people
We're having
of
a
Nevada.
meeting here. You're just a rude person who is
I'm not
interfering.
rude. I'm
You're
a journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm asking a
I'm
question.
waiting for you for 10 minutes to do it. Go.
I'm asking a question.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I
just
do
want
need
to
you
know.
to stop or I need you to leave the building.
Are we going to have more illegal immigration and you're going to take away our guns? What are you going to do to make sure that these illegals, these MS-13 gangbangers who are killing people, how are they getting guns? How are they getting guns?
I'm asking one more time, and if you continue to break our third place policy, unfortunately I'm going to have to ask you to leave, and I will have to be calling the police. I'm so sorry.
All right.
I apologize.
Any comment, Mr. Sisolak? I know you love to accuse Donald Trump of being a racist simply because he wants to protect our border, right? But you can't continue to exploit the tragedy of the Las Vegas shooting to push your gun control when there's evidence that suggests that this was an ISIS terrorist attack as well.
I'm so sorry, but I need you to leave.
You know, you're campaigning. He has no comment, but he's running for governor.
But this is a place he's a
You're so
customer.
rude. I can't believe you're brought up that way.
I'm a journalist. He's the one who's running for governor.
You could have gotten all your answers.
He's
if you
running
just
for
waited
governor.
patiently.
He's running for governor, and he wants to take away people's right to own a gun. But then he also is unwilling to deport dangerous illegal immigrants who are killing people in the state of Nevada. What do you have to say? What do you have to say to the family members who lost people as a result of those 10 homicides by violent, dangerous, illegal MS-13 gangbangers whose bodies they were mutilated? That's a direct result of your policies. You're allowing for these people, these animals, as Donald Trump likes to call them, to come into our country. How much money are you getting paid in your little wide envelope bribes, Mr. Sisolak, to make Las Vegas, the state of Nevada, even more unsecure? Do you care? Do you care about people who have been victims of illegal immigrants? Or are you just going to continue virtue signaling with the Democrats and falsely accuse Donald Trump of being a racist for wanting to protect people? You want to run for governor, but you can't even answer a question. How are the people of Nevada supposed to trust you? You can't even handle a question.
Your parents must be beauties.
No, they're proud. MS-13, they're killing people in Nevada. And you want to take away people's guns so they can't protect themselves. Your policies are going to allow for more dangerous criminals to come into Nevada. It's so selfish. I mean, the Democrats, they said to confront people,
That's
right?
what they
Didn't
asked
they
us
say
to
to
do.
confront? They asked us to
I
confront
thought that was
people.
what we're supposed to do. Loomer, firsthand, says black.
You explained what it was like meeting President Trump and then coming out. How has it affected your business since you came out as a pro-Trump businessman?
Well, you have to go back. When I first met him, I mean, I was never political. I didn't know. I know what I am, I met him in August 15, 2016. After a series of divine appointments, I was never. I met Ben Carson. I got invited to the National Prayer Breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I was randomly picked out of 12 people to pray with him, and he was still running for president then. And then I ended up at the Republican convention. I had no idea what it is, what goes on there, and that was another divine appointment. I ended up in Donald Trump's section, and all the people were amazing. I go, wow, I've been in a lot of places. Even the Secret Service in this section is that they were all. It was an amazing feeling, and then. When I ended up having a meeting with him, he invited me to meet at Trump Hotel. This was our Trump Tower in 2016, August 15th. And I met him, and when I met him, it was just him and I. I walked in, he says, Mike, you always wear your cross, are you a Christian? I said, yes, and this is a divine appointment. And we're talking, and we talked about the inner city, what I was going to do with my foundation, and what his plans were, and his agenda to help the country. And when I walked out of that room, I suppose it was a half hour, and all the amazing things he had talked about, I go, wow, he's going to be the best president in history.
He is the best president in history.
Absolutely. Well, that's it at the time. He is for sure. Well, here, I walked out, and I didn't stop there. I did my due diligence, and I went and checked out his employees, and all of his employees that I talked to this day, every one of them's like talking to one of my own employees.
Yeah.
They love him. They've been with him for years. He's the most amazing, fair, greatest boss ever. So I'm going all in. Well, I went all in, and I end up at the third debate. I put my pillow, myself on the line. Of course, what happened then, and everybody, I told it, I'd done a press release that I met with him. It was a complete shutout. Nobody wanted it. And then after he won, of course, then they all wanted to know, how do you know he was going to win? So then, of course, all the press was after me. Well, then, as you know, I was attacked, Better Business Bureau, A+ to an F rating over, wanting me to take down my 2-for-1 ads.
The 2-for-1 special.
Yeah, the 2-for-1 special, and whether that was political, it was very suspicious. It goes from an A+ to an F,
Well, it sounds political.
Yeah. It was very, very political. I met with them all and going, are you kidding me? I said, nobody's going to believe this. I said, give me that F. And what it did, it raised my platform up, because the whole public got behind it. Go, this is crazy, And lawyers in California, Alameda County, suing us for other things, Back in 2012, in one ad, I called myself a sleep expert, and all these people, all my testimonials were so powerful at my pillow that they said, send us, and we sent them like 200,000 testimonials to people, and then they sue us, and they all get the lawyers get all the money, and these people are going to get $5 bill. They sent in thousands of testimonials saying, these are our testimonials, this is what it is. And now We have an amazing sleep study that just came out, this guy's did, that proved all these things now. So this is all going to be coming out publicly. You're hearing it here first.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. But to answer your question, does it hurt us? Our best day is always yesterday. My pillow just keeps going up and up and up. I think where I've been able to navigate is, I want, like Donald Trump, or our president, he has common sense. Mm-hmm. He's pragmatic. He's common sense, and that's the way I am. I didn't just go into go Republican. I vet whoever I'm behind. They better match my Christian beliefs. They better match my values. They better match, be right for the job. And I just like I went all in for the president. Now I'm going all in for a few other people in this midterm that I've met, and they're amazing people.
That's great. And that's my next question is, so you like Donald Trump and you love Donald Trump. He's the best president.
Yeah,
have you always been a Republican? Because you were saying that you haven't always been politically involved.
I've never been. I said this before. They interviewed me on a radio station the other day, and they said, "Are you They said, "Yeah, Mike Lindell founded My Pillow, and he was used to be a Democrat." And I got on there. I said, "No, I want to correct that. I didn't find My Pillow. I invented My Pillow, and I was never a Democrat. I was a crack cocaine addict. I had no political, whatsoever. I actually like George W. Bush, the stuff. I read his book. I mean, that was as far as, I didn't go vote. I voted for Jesse Ventura when he was in Minnesota. A lot of people voted for the first time there, It was something different, but I just wasn't political. Like I say, I didn't know a liberal from a conservative, from a Democrat to a Republican. I didn't know that. I was very naive to that,
Yeah, and I was reading your story. It's very inspirational and very, just empowering, because like you said, you started out and you had drug addiction issues, and then now you have this huge business that's worth, you sell over $300 million worth of pillows, and just an incredible business. And it's very inspirational. It really represents the American dream. And so I was going to ask you, is that something that you see in President Donald Trump is really this embodiment of the American dream?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why he can relate to people, the common people. It's like, and that's why my story of hope, I had my own university, but I also I had no money. The pillow was an idea. I got the idea and a dream from God, and I went out and I was turned down everywhere. And someone said, "Well, Mike, why don't you do a kiosk?" I said, "How do you spell that?" And I did this kiosk, and that failed. And I had this with my addictions, my own addictions. I couldn't talk to people. I was either would show off, or I would be very shy. If I wouldn't have my drugs, I'd be. I lived in Las Vegas once for a month and a half to talk to people. But what I did then, with My Pillow, so the guy had bought one from that kiosk, and this guy had called me up. He said, "You guy invented this pillow here from Minnesota," and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, this pillow changed my life. I run the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show." Well, when I did that show, I was able to talk to people then because I had a table in front of me, and they're coming up to me, and I didn't need drugs behind that, to do that. So for 7 years. I did shows, made them, but I had a lot of adversity. Lost a 20-year marriage. Everything went down. I had drug dealers doing intervention on me. I mean, I had all kinds of stuff happen. And then I said, and then I quit everything January 16, 2009, and overnight. And then things started happening then, good things, but my company was taken. My copies that people copied out there, and all these different things that happened. But I said, let's do an infomercial. If no one will take my pillow, let's do an infomercial. And we ended up doing, you talk about the American dream. I told my friends and family, everybody pull your money. I said, we'll just bring it right to the public. And the night before, during the read, we're doing our reads, when this producer goes, "This guy's the worst guy I've ever seen. He'll never make it on TV." And I'm going, but he didn't tell me that. I'm going, and he's right. The next day, I had 9 takes on one line. And so we took away the teleprompter and did it naturally with an audience, and just did it. And I just did like I did at the shows, and it exploded. It went from 5 employees to 540 days. Now I have 1,600 employees now, and we're making about 90 to 100,000 pillows a day. But I have my own call center for customer service. Goes back to your customer service. It all starts with me. It's like with our president. He's so, he's the American dream. When I met him, I go, he said, Mike, you're one of the best marketers I've ever seen in branding. I said, no, you are, sir.
Trump is great, and it's inspirational.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah,
great to
very
people
inspirational.
because, I mean, your story and President Trump's story, it really shows people, no matter where you are in your life, how old you are, how rich or poor you are, you can become a success story, and all it takes is hard work. And even for me myself, I've experienced some of those struggles because people are always telling me, you're not going to make it,
right. All the naysayers.
You can't be pro-Trump and then have your own news company, or you're not this, you're not that. But I really do believe in the American dream, and I think that it's good to support President Trump, and good things happen to those who support President Trump.
Absolutely. My company, since this got brought up the other day, I was actually on, I won't say the news station, but it was one of the big three, and it was on there, and they said, they go, aren't you afraid you're going to alienate half your supporters? And I said, no. I said, our biggest day is always yesterday. I said, I'm going with, I met him. I met the president. I know what you can't take that from me. It's not like I'm saying, oh, he's doing this. I'm very proud of what he's done. I'm proud of him as a person. I've met him. I wouldn't put everything out there if I had never met him and never, you know what I mean? And know where his heart is, he has a heart, and one of the most strongest guys I've ever seen as far as being able to just take it and keep going. You talk about a guy, a divine appointment by God, just amazing strength.
Yeah, it is really incredible, and that's one thing I was going to ask you. As you see these boycotts, so people come out and they say,
I love this
"Oh
one.
well, Mike Lindell supports President Trump, so don't buy his pillows anymore." But I always find that when people do boycotts on pro-Trump business owners, it actually increases their sales. So for every person who boycotts, you end up selling 4 or 5 times the product because Trump supporters always come out and
buy. And that's true. And it always happens to me. I love it on my Twitter. They, especially if Sean Hannity's a friend of mine, Lori Ingram, they do something. And then they'll say, the boycotts will come up again. Boycott my pillow, and then the bots and trolls on Twitter will say this. Well, then someone else over here will say, don't boycott him. He just doubles down. So I just double the ads. Because everyone else is leaving spots, I'll go in there, and I'm the only one there. I'm not going to change what I do. I advertise across the board on other channels too. When you talk about on all the channels, so I'm not going to, other ones will badmouth me, and I still advertise. I put my pillow separate from my beliefs as, this is me. This isn't, this is where I'm at, and I'm not going to change because someone says, oh, we're going to boycott you. Really? I love the ones. I like the ones that'll send me a thing. I was going to. We get them in emails too. They'll send me an email. I was going to buy 10 pillows, but I canceled my order. Really? Okay, you weren't even buying one, and I'm throwing my pillow away now, and I'm oh really? Go ahead. This isn't like rock music where you break records back in the day.
Does President Trump use my pillow?
Yes, in fact, I was just with him at dinner the other night, and he said, Mike, I put him in the White House too. He just told me that.
So then now everybody watching this interview, and I have over 200,000 followers on Twitter, and
he
a lot of
it.
people.
He's sleeping good.
Everyone needs to buy my pillow because President Trump uses my pillow.
Absolutely, and you can see on that. I was invited to the White House in the summer of, it was last summer of 17, for the Manufacturers Summit for the Made in America, and I walked in there, and it was so surreal. Here's about 15 people around this thing, and I said, you all got your name tags. I said, who's sitting here? And they said, the president is. He wanted to sit by you. And I'm going, what? It was surreal for me. And they walked in, and he did a whole 1 minute talk about my pillow and him having it. He had bought some and he tried them, and he said he loves them. He's getting great sleep, and that's quite a compliment. And because I'll tell you what, that guy, I don't know when he does sleep, but it needs to be quality when he does.
I know, because he's like me. He goes to bed really late. I see him tweeting at 3 in the morning, and then he's tweeting at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. And I love President Trump. That's hard worker.
He's hard worker. His work ethic, he just doesn't stop. It's just like, it's amazing.
Yeah, my dad uses my pillow. I actually bought my dad my pillows for his birthday 2 years ago, and he was telling me, because he saw that study in the news about how people were coming after you, and because you called yourself a sleep expert, and how they said, oh, well, you can't say that the pillows are therapeutic and they help people. But my dad's a doctor, and he said that he used it and he has pain issues, and he feels a lot better now, and he recommends it to all his patients, and they feel better when they use your pillows. So
Well,
he
they
told me
just-
to tell you that
Well,
he
thank
signs
you.
off that
Yeah.
it is medically approved. He
Right.
recommends it to his patients.
Well, we just finished our sleep study
Yeah.
that this company did for us, and they proved all these things, that you get sleep faster, stay asleep longer, or you get these great sleep cycles, snoring. I mean, 95% this positional sleep apnea. 95% of the people had improved. It was just an amazing study. That'll all be all over the news now in the magazines that they're getting published right now. But I'm very proud of that because it validates what 40 million people know now. That have been saying and going. Now I can get on TV and really say what my pillow does. Before it's just the passion and all the people it's helped and
well, that's great.
It's going to be pretty amazing.
Well, focusing now on Minnesota, there's some Republican candidates who you've endorsed. You have Doug Wardlow, who's running for Attorney General against Keith Ellison, who's a really bad guy. He's the deputy chair of the DNC. And, what would you say to Minnesota voters who are looking to vote in the election on November 6th?
Well, I met Doug Wardlow. I met him. We become friends. I don't just get behind someone because, like I say, I do my due diligence. I put my name and my platform of trust out there, which is a big platform. And Doug's an amazing guy, smart. The guy is so smart. He worked for this Christian organization that backs my Christian beliefs. I mean, he's an amazing guy, and he's the best one I could ever see for Minnesota. He's going to really be an amazing, and I believe that. From what I've heard from Ellerson to politicize the position of Attorney General and say you're going to go after the president, aren't you supposed to be helping us here in Minnesota? I mean, I was just blown away by that, and I kind of have a little fear about that because I've been very, Doug's an amazing guy. Vote for Doug. Get out and vote.
And my big concern too, as a woman, is all these domestic abuse allegations against Keith Ellison, and how you see the Democrats right now trying to weaponize the party against Brett Kavanaugh, but they're completely ignoring the fact that Keith Ellison has multiple allegations of domestic abuse. He supports Antifa, which our government has recognized as a domestic terrorist organization. Antifa is always terrorizing Trump supporters and beating them up, and you see Trump at rallies speaking out about Antifa. So I don't want an attorney general, and I don't know about you, but I don't think the people in Minnesota want an attorney general who supports
Antifa. And they need
Antifa.
to know Doug Wardlow. They need to know the name. Everybody knows they don't want Keith.
Yeah.
We need to get the name, and that's what I've told Doug. I'm getting the name out there. Doug Wardlow. You know, everybody write it down. Tell your neighbors. Everybody wants to vote against him. But they just need to know that name.
Yeah, I've been doing my
Doug's
best.
amazing. I'm just telling you.
He's a good guy. I've been doing my best to promote his campaign. And then what about Jeff Johnson?
Jeff, I know personally. He's a friend of mine, and he's worked as the commissioner. I think it was 13 years, Minneapolis. My thing that I'm going to be doing with addiction and the inner cities, it lines up perfect for me. And the stuff we're doing in Minnesota first, Jeff's been right there. He's perfect. He'll be the best governor we ever had.
Best governor.
Ever. Take that one home.
Yeah, and then we have the Trump rally coming up as well on October 4th.
Yeah, I'm going to be, I get to speak at that. I'll be speaking, and they told me today I'll be introducing or greeting the president, and I had dinner with him about 8-9 days ago at Trump Hotel in Washington D.C. So I'm looking forward to that. And
That's good.
There's a lot of people that we need to get into Minnesota.
Yeah. And then you can just tell me a little bit about your Lindell Foundation and what you do with your foundation.
Yeah, well, what I'm doing, we're not completely launched. And then I have a book coming out called "What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO?" And by the time you read the book, if you don't believe in Jesus, you didn't read the book. I mean, it is amazing, the miracles in my life. But as an addict, I have my foundation. There's two things. I have the Lindell Foundation. I have the Lindell Recovery Network. The foundation first. I'm bringing trust back into giving. I'm taking private sector money where you see it home, and you'll be able to pick whatever that square is. Know that 100% of your money goes to that need, and then you get to hear back a difference you made. Where before it's like, are those really my kids, or did everybody have the same ones? And how much of the money really goes to it, and how much do their CEOs make? I mean, we kind of know who ruined foundations and stuff. And we need to bring that trust back, and this will do it. 100% of the money goes to the need, and you're picking the need, and there'll be vetted needs, and there could be, maybe it's homeless, whatever it is, whatever that need is. I kind of reverse engineered, like I did my pillow, what a foundation should be. You know, starts with trust. You know, I trust that it's, you know, the Lindell Foundation. Well, boy, it'd be great if 100% of my money could go to the need. Yeah, it does. Well, it's because I'm paying all the overhead over here.
Right.
And then the Lindell Recovery Network, that's going to be amazing, where we're gathering stories right now of hope. Imagine if you're on a website and you put in your age and your addiction. So you put in, over 22-year-old opiate addict. They might not, or heroin addict, they might not be able to relate to a 55-year-old meth addict.
Right.
But the closer you get to a match, so you put that in, and all these stories of your age and that drug come down, and they've made it through. And how did they make it through, and all this, the stuff they've been through, so they can relate. Now I'm like their tour guide on the website. I'll go, you guys, you know, it's just like selling a pillow. I'm selling help and hope. And I'll say, you guys, here's where to go here. All these centers that are all faith-based, your Teen Challenge, Union Gospel, Salvation Army, these are the ones that work. I'm going to say, go over here, get your help, and when they come out of that, they're going to have an app that's going to, with these mentors that I'm going to be paying, that are going to be, you know, I'll say, hey, don't worry, when you get out, we're right here for you, and we're going to bring them through the help mentors. And we're going to have jobs. That's going to be one of the biggest employers in the country.
Should team up with Trump because he has this really big opiate program as well to counter the addiction issues in this country and the war on opiate crisis. Have you talked to him about that?
I've talked to Kellyanne. I've talked to the group, different ones at the White House, and Vice President. I told all about it. What I'm doing there. So yeah, I'm sure we will be combined.
That's good.
We've been busy.
What message or what piece of information or inspiration could you give to business owners who are conservative but they're nervous to come out in support of President Trump?
You don't even hesitate. I mean, it's you get out there and you support them, and you will be. Don't be afraid. I mean, your business is going to increase. I mean, everyone. Yeah, let me tell you, even things that are over here on the left, you got maybe. To me, it's 80 to 90% that are still supporting your business. It's just that small voice that's loud, and don't be afraid of those guys over there. I did the Minnesota State Fair. I was there this couple weeks ago, and I probably had, let's say, 500 to 700 people come up and personally pictures, talk to them. Wow. Out of them, one person came up to me and said, all of them were going there. They were coming up to me. Oh, your pillow's great. They're coming up to me. Wow, you have an amazing transformation. You found Jesus Christ and all this. Or they're saying, the other thing they're saying, wow, Mike, thank you for supporting our president. This is in Minnesota. You know, and they're going, you know, you are guiding, you know, by being so boisterous, they're able to go ahead and speak their mind, you know, that they've been, instead of having to hide and be afraid of somebody attacking them. Well, one guy came up and he goes, you know, I love what you're doing with the, you know, but you're aligning yourself with the worst person ever. And I go, really? I've met the guy. Have you met him? And I start in, and he kind of ducked his head and snuck out the door. He goes, maybe you're right. And, you know, because everyone around him, and this is right in the heart of the, you know, right in the heart of Minnesota. So I think people, it's just like my Facebook. When I started out back in the day, I would put a picture of me and the president up there, and I'd get, you know, like 10 likes just before the election. You know, I'd have Rudy Giuliani or someone that I had met. I'd have there up there 300 likes, 400 likes, but he would get these small likes. Well, throughout that cycle, now they're going, wow, Mike says it's okay. So I would get more and more to the point of, you know, 400 likes, 500 likes, and I only had to deface 2 people the whole time. Where, you know, 2 people from that whole cycle, and you had now I can put them up there. I don't know how many I have on my Facebook, but every one of them, you know. They're all pro-Trump, and people. It's like that. That's why he won. But now for this midterm, everyone's got to get out. When people, after he did win, the first few months, it was the 100 Days of Trump. I was going on this tour, and people were talking, and I said, "Well, what can we do now? What can we do?" I said, "Just keep them in your prayers, or whatever." Well, now I can say, now you can do something. Get out, not just vote. You better put it right out there, whether you're a business or whatever, and say, "Hey, look what it's doing." And brag about what he's done. You need to get out there and brag about it. Look at everybody, the lowest unemployment for black unemployment, Hispanic in history.
Women.
Minnesota here is the lowest. We were way ahead of the curve before they started announcing this. This goes back 2 or 3 months. I mean, where my factory's at here in Minnesota, in Scott County, I mean, every once in a while I was finally paying people what I was paying people, because we have careers at My Pillow. Everyone's getting better pay too, and I think businesses need to get out there and say, we owe this to the most amazing president ever.
Yeah, he really is.
And then get out and vote for the people that are going to support him. We got to have that, or we could lose something. We're finally here. Let's not lose it.
Yep. So get out and vote
Yes.
Republican.
And tell other people what and if they've got, and get your facts. I mean, it's very easy now to. Before, people didn't. It was very hard. I had met him, so I had that before. Now everybody's got those tools. We have proof. Okay, hey, how's your 401k? How's your stocks? You got stuff to be able to say. Nobody can argue that. You can't argue that. There's nothing that you can't say now where it's not a positive for our president and for all the people that we need to get into office. So before it was harder for people, didn't have anything to go on. Yeah. Now, get out, tell your neighbors, you're sleeping well.
Yeah, sleeping well and make America great again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nuts. This is so dumb. This is crazy.
We're never getting out of here.
This is a freaking madhouse. They keep calling in more police. They shut down the entire park because there's so many fights going on. We can't even get to our vehicle. And the police keep coming and fights keep happening. So we got an ambulance here, but the entire row in front is all police vehicle. Alarms are going off like crazy. The whole front over here, like the entire park is filled with police. I mean, they've got to have more than one police city here.
Mr. Dorsey, you are lying about censoring conservatives. You were caught on tape by Project Veritas, shadow banning people. You were censoring people. You censored me. You censored Milo. You censored Chuck Johnson, James O'Keefe. You even censored President Trump when one of your employees deleted his account for a few minutes. You are censoring conservatives, and I'm asking you, President Donald Trump, help us. Please help us, Mr. President, before it is too late, because Jack Dorsey is trying to influence the election, to sway the election so that the Democrats can steal the election. That is why he is censoring and shadow banning conservatives. You are a liar, Jack Dorsey. You are a liar, Jack Dorsey. You unverified me on November 15th, 2017.
Officer, will you escort this young lady out, please?
Stop the bias. We are conservative Americans, not Russian bots, Jack Dorsey. Stop the bias. Stop censoring conservatives. Stop, Jack Dorsey. Stop the bias. We are not Russian bots. We are conservatives, Jack Dorsey. You were caught on camera. Watch the tapes. Jack Dorsey, you unverified me and called me a white supremacist. I'm Jewish.
Free speech.
You're violating my First Amendment right.
CNN and the Democrats, you know, are destroying the First Amendment. It needs to be stood up against.
Mr. Dorsey, when can I have my verification back?
Obama set up a CIA office to shut down
I am
independent
not a
press in
Russian
the US.
bot. I am a journalist.
can I help you?
Hi, Mr. Ellison. How are you? My name's Laura Loomer.
Can I
I'm an
help you?
investigative journalist.
Hi,
I have
can
a
I help
question.
you?
How are you going to run for Attorney General
you?
when there's
Oh,
domestic
hi,
abuse
can I help you?
allegations against you? Yeah, I'm a
Can I
journalist.
help
I'm
you?
asking some questions.
I don't think you heard her.
You want to run for Attorney General? Here's a police report.
Excuse me.
Here's a police report that was
Excuse me, I'm
filed
sorry.
against you. Excuse me, do not put your hands on me.
I'm not putting my hands
There's a
on
police report that was filed against you in 2005 by a woman by the name of Amy Alexander.
Please,
As a
please.
woman, why should I vote for you, Keith Ellison, when there are
Excuse me.
domestic violence
me.
allegations against you?
You're not a journalist. You can't get in this business, okay? Excuse me. I'm going to need to ask you to leave, please, okay?
You cannot put your hands on me.
didn't
I
put
can
my
file
hands
a
on you.
police report against you.
Go
You
for
cannot
it,
put your
please.
hands on
I
me.
didn't put my hands
You
on
are
you.
touching me. Take your hands off of
Am
me.
I touching you?
Mr. Ellison, there is a police report that was filed against you in 2005 by a woman by the name of Amy Alexander. How can you be Attorney General when you abuse women, Mr. Ellison? You don't even have a valid attorney's license to be an attorney in the state of Minnesota. Mr. Ellison. Mr. Ellison, you said that Senator Franken is scheduled to speak tomorrow. I think he will do the right thing and resign. When are you going to do the right thing and resign for abusing two women?
Make jokes about Muhammad.
Mr. Ellison, two women. Did you not tweet this? You tweeted this. If you put your hands on me, I will call the police on you. I will call the police on you if you put your hands on me.
You're going to get hands on me, making sure I let you.
You're being filmed. If you touch me, I will file a police report against you.
We're spending a family time. Why are you doing this?
Because he's
our
an abuser.
But our families are here. We're spending a good time.
In 2005, the police were called to Amy Alexander's home, and she reported that Keith Ellison was beating her. Do you want an attorney general that beats women?
That's not what she reported.
It's right here. I have the police report right
Did
here.
not say she was beating her.
It says that she was getting abused. Physical,
No, it
domestic
doesn't.
violence.
I'm the attorney.
Mr. Ellison, why should the women of Minnesota vote for a man who has been accused of abusing women?
Why didn't she speak up 2 years ago or 4 years ago or 6 years ago? Why hasn't she said
Doesn't matter. The Democrat Party believes all victims of abuse, I thought.
I believe all victims.
What happened to the Me Too movement? Mr. Ellison, what happened to the Me Too movement?
He's innocent until he's proven guilty.
Mr. Ellison, I don't want an attorney general who beats and abuses women, okay? I don't.
Well, then you have a choice. And I don't believe that you say. You have a choice.
Mr. Ellison, why are you refusing
You
to answer?
need to answer the people, Mr. Ellison.
Why
You are
aren't you
running to
answering
be
the
Attorney General. What is this? This is an assault allegation. This is a police report, Mr. Ellison. You cannot be the Attorney General of Minnesota if you abuse women, Mr. Ellison. Mr. Ellison.
Mr. Ellison. Mr. Ellison,
Mr. Ellison.
can you make jokes about Muhammad? Is this Sharia law state to you?
Mr. Ellison, you said that you were very proud of your friend, Senator Al Franken, as he spoke passionately about the Violence Against Women Act.
Are you condoning female genital mutilation?
Why did you beat Amy Alexander and Karen Monahan? What are you going to do when this videotape comes out of you abusing them? What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Mr. Ellison? You going to run me over? You going to run me over? Is that what you're going to do? You going to abuse another woman? I don't need to do anything.
Yes,
I'm a journalist. I can ask whatever question I want.
There are rules about this. You have violated
I am not violating any rules. I have a First Amendment, the Constitution. He took his oath on the Quran. Maybe he should read the Constitution. Who are you? Who are you?
Just somebody.
Okay, well, you obviously don't have courage because you're not even giving me your name. I will ask him whatever question I want.
Come on back. Come on back. Come on
Me
back.
too, Mr. Ellison. Me too.
Me
too.
Come on back.
Me too. Hashtag me too, Mr. Ellison.
Defend yourself. We do not need an AG like you.
Let him out.
I love you.
Let him out.
Anybody today?
We don't want an attorney general who abuses women.
Let him out. Please let him out. Let him out. Why are y'all being so
Me too, Keith Ellison.
Me too! The Democrat National Committee should be ashamed of itself. Bye, Mr. Allison. Bye. Bye.
Hey guys, Laura Loomer here. I'm about to show you some pretty graphic and disturbing audio and video, but it's really important that you hear it. Why is it really important? Because the individual who is on this audio is Siraj Wahhaj, who Linda Sarsour herself proclaimed to be her mentor and her favorite person. Take a listen to what he has to say.
First Muslim to give an invocation in the House of Representatives in 1991, Imam Siraj is well known as one of the most dynamic and charismatic American Muslim speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to welcome the head of the Muslim Alliance of North America, Imam Siraj Wahhaj.
The Prophet cursed, la'ana, cursed the feminine man and the masculine woman. This is the khutbah for today. And brothers and sisters, I don't believe any of you are homosexual. This is a disease of this society. Some 10% of the American people homosexual. Over 25 million Americans, 1 out of 10. Men who prefer men sexually and women who prefer women.
And to my favorite person in this room, because that's mutual, is Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who has been a mentor, a motivator, an encourager of mine.
Now, there may be some who have some little tendency, maybe, among the Muslims, among us. Allahu Alam, I don't think so. But hopefully, today's khutbah can get rid of that if you have it in your heart. And number two, I want you to be able to defend against these homosexuals.
So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj, and you might think this is weird, but every once in a while when I get into that deep, dark place, Imam Siraj comes and talks to me, and that he helps me to emerge out of those spaces. So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj. May Allah bless you and protect you and keep you for a long time for our community, because we need you now more than ever.
Hey guys, Laura Loomer here. I'm about to play some really graphic and disturbing audio for you guys from a guy named Siraj Wahhaj. Siraj Wahhaj is a very prominent Muslim leader here in the United States. He's currently an imam in New York City, but more than that, he's also a multi-million-dollar fundraiser for Muslim organizations here in America like CARE, ISNA, and ICNA.
ISNA has done and meant for them and their family, for America. I believe there's some Muslim here today say, you know what, I can match my brother and I will give a donation of $100,000. Anyone here?
He also gave an address to Congress in 1991.
Prayer will be offered by our guest chaplain, Imam Siraj Wahhaj.
He's also a co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and most recently, his son, who's also named Siraj Wahhaj, was arrested in New Mexico, where he had a jihadi training compound training 11 kids to be school shooters or little terrorists. Now, take a listen to what Linda Sarsour has to say about her buddy Siraj Wahhaj.
And to my favorite person in this room, because that's mutual, is Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who has been a mentor, a motivator, an encourager of mine.
Well, that's really nice, isn't it, Linda? And I recently uncovered some audio from Linda Sarsour's mentor. Take a listen.
And you know, brothers and sisters, you know what the punishment is if a man is found with another man? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, kill the fa'il and the maf'ul. The one who does it and the one to whom it is done to. Kill them both.
Oy vey, Linda, that was some pretty hateful homophobic stuff coming out of your mentor's mouth there. Now, don't you consider yourself to be a representative for the Women's March? And haven't you proclaimed that you yourself are a champion for LGBTQ people? This is not a good look for the Democrats, Linda. And this is why I'm encouraging all people in America to contact the Democrat Party. Whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, a progressive, whatever you may be, this is unacceptable behavior. And Linda Sarsour should not be working with the Democrats. Contact them today and demand that they cut off all ties with Linda Sarsour. Hi, my name is Loomer. I just had a quick for you. I was wondering if, since you're now going to become the first, no, my hands are cold, it's so cold in here. Yeah. I was wondering, since, congratulations on your primary, since you're going to be the first Palestinian Muslim.
I'm so sorry.
Are you willing to?
Oh, I can tell. Oh. I actually like people
Are you
like
her?
Yeah.
Rashida, are you willing to admit as a congresswoman that Hamas is a terrorist organization? I really need to know that if this woman is going to be elected to Congress, that it's a serious question.
I heard about her. Yeah.
Rashida.
I heard she like stalks you and stuff. Incredible opportunity for us to be able to come together as one community.
What about
and
your
really
Jewish
change the
constituents?
world. I'm now going to be a member of Congress, inshallah. So most important thing is that we fight back. But I love coming from a place of love.
Then why are you campaigning with Linda Sarsour, who called for jihad against President Trump?
So that is afforded to all of us.
What about justice for little girls, Elon? You voted against legislation that would have made FGM a felony. Why is she so hateful against Israel? Are they going to recognize the United States decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel?
Time for
She married her brother. Elon, why did you marry your brother? Elon Amar married her brother. She committed immigration fraud so that her brother could get a green card.
That's up to the government.
And the government has decided that immigration fraud is a crime and incest is illegal in the United States of America. It is a violation of campaign finance rules to use your campaign funds to pay for your divorce from your brother. CARE is recognized as a designated terrorist organization in United Arab Emirates. Both of these candidates have been endorsed by CARE, a terrorist organization. The federal government found during the Holy Land Foundation trial that CARE had ties to terrorism. They were funding Hamas, which Rashida, candidate for Congress, supports. She needs to decide whether she's an American or a Muslim first. Is she a Palestinian or is she an American first?
Tom Trento, Director of the United West, with a special edition, Enemies of the State, entitled Marxist Jihad in Michigan. Indeed, the political craziness going on in Michigan resulted in an investigative expose by the United West, along with investigative journalist Laura Loomer. Laura, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
You were with us and you led the investigation in Michigan. We have a lot to tell the folks. Give us a little tease as to what they're going to see.
Well, you're going to find out how Marxists on the ground who are working with the Democratic Party are now working with Sharia-compliant individuals to Islamify the state of Michigan.
A couple of years ago, the United West got involved with Sharia Crime Stoppers, an amazing organization doing educational work in the state of Michigan, training law enforcement on Islamic jihad and related issues. And through our involvement with them, they made us aware of this unique campaign that's going on now for the governor of the state of Michigan by this Muslim individual who's the so-called perfect man, according to the major media outlets, Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed. But as we dug a little more deeply, we saw that there was Sharia compliance personally. There was a platform committed to Karl Marx's Das Kapital. We saw involvement with individuals that had ties to terrorism. We needed a United West investigative expose. And we went to our dear friend Laura Loomer, investigative journalist, to lead the efforts. Laura, tell us what it was like when you got into Dearborn, Hamtramck, and the metro areas of Detroit.
I didn't feel like I was in America anymore. Honestly, I've traveled to the Middle East. I've traveled with you to the Middle East, and I felt like when I was walking through the streets of Hamtramck, walking past the mosque, walking past the grocery store, I felt like I was in the Middle East.
What happened next?
I decided that I needed to confront the candidate himself. I decided to find Abdul al-Said, and I attended one of his campaign events in Michigan, and I confronted him. And I asked him about his own practice of Sharia law and how he reconciles the difference between his own personal Sharia and these Marxist political talking points, which completely contradict and go against what he stands for as a devout Muslim.
It was fascinating video. We had a few people there taping it. Let's take a look at that right now.
So I just had a question for you. I just wanted to know how you reconcile your own personal practice of Islamic law with your Marxist socialist political platform that directly contradicts tenets within Islamic law.
My faith is about what I choose to do with my life, right? I think that's what faith is. It's a choice that people make about how they live their life. Don't drink, for example. Doesn't mean I want to take away your ability to choose to do that. So, for me, it's about what kind of society we want to build in a pluralistic, beautiful country like ours. And it's not about trying to enforce one's own personal choices, because I think what's beautiful about our country is everybody gets to make their own personal choices. So I choose my own faith, and you choose yours, and or none at all, and that's a beautiful thing.
Right, but under Islam, for example, and I'm just asking you a question. It's a serious question because you're running and you're campaigning on issues of LGBTQ. We have a First Amendment, and anybody's allowed to.
I've answered my question.
You didn't answer the question because under Islam, for example, gays are punished by death.
I don't know that that's true.
Gays are stoned, so gays are not hung and found buildings in the Middle East.
I don't know. Well, what people do in the Middle East has nothing to do with what.
Right,
what
but you yourself said that you are a Sharia compliant Muslim.
I didn't say that.
Well, you said that your head touches the floor 34 times a day.
I choose to pray.
We're done.
Right.
And I think we're done.
Well, as you can see, Abdul al-Said dodged my questions and ran away from me and wouldn't be forthcoming about Sharia. So I decided to take my questions to the experts themselves. I met up with Philip Haney, who is a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security, and he provided me with excellent information about Sharia and how it's being utilized in the Michigan gubernatorial race.
My name is Philip Haney. I'm a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security, which was started in March of 2003. I'm a recognized subject matter expert in the global Islamic movement and the strategy and tactics of the Muslim Brotherhood operating here in the United States. I retired from Customs and Border Protection on the 31st of July, 2015, and since then I've been traveling around the country talking about sovereignty, our right to choose the form of government we live under, and the Constitution, and how the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamic groups are seeking to undermine our sovereignty and replace it with Sharia law.
How is Abdul al-Said connected to the Muslim Brotherhood?
Well, his first connection was as vice president of the Muslim Students Association at the University of Michigan. That chapter of the MSA is known as one of the oldest in America. The MSA was the first Muslim Brotherhood front group created in America in the middle 1960s, and it is the parent of now the largest Muslim Brotherhood front group in the country, Islamic Society of North America. So starting with the MSA vice presidency during his college career, he was recently endorsed by Linda Sarsour, who essentially is the face of the Islamic Society of North America, and she endorsed him at their annual national convention back in July of 2017.
Hey guys, Laura Loomer here. I'm about to show you the creepiest and the scariest endorsement for governor that was caught on camera that you'll ever see in your life. Check it out.
When I think about building power, I think about brothers like Abdul Sayyid, who is in this room today, who is running to be the first Muslim governor of the state of Michigan. He can't, sisters and brothers, he's a wonderful brother. He's an inspiring brother. He is well qualified to be the next governor of Michigan, but he can't do that without you. That brother not only does he need your mashallah and bismillah and dua, he needs your money. And to my favorite person in this room, because that's mutual, is Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who has been a mentor, a motivator, an encourager of mine, someone who has taught me to speak truth to power and not worry about the consequences, someone who has taught me that we are on this earth to please Allah and only Allah, that we are not here to please any man or woman on this earth. So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj, and you might think this is weird, but every once in a while when I get into that deep, a dark place, Imam Siraj comes and talks to me. And that he helps me to emerge out of those spaces. So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj. May Allah bless you and protect you and keep you for a long time for our community, because we need you now more than ever.
As you can see, there's some pretty scary and disturbing things going on in Linda Sarsour's head. But what's even more disturbing and scarier than that is the fact that Abdul El Sayed, who's currently running to become the first Muslim governor of Michigan, didn't distance himself from Sarsour, even after she expressed admiration and support for Siraj Wahhaj, who was a co-conspirator in the 1993 attempt to blow up the World Trade Center in New York. Siraj once said, "It's my duty and our duty as Muslims to replace the United States Constitution with the Quran." But wait, there's more. What's even more disturbing than that is the fact that El Sayed brought Linda Sarsour on to be his de facto campaign manager. Yes, you heard that correctly. His de facto campaign manager.
So he's endorsed by the ISNA, major front group for the Muslim Brotherhood. He himself was vice president of another major front group for the Muslim Brotherhood, and his father-in-law is currently vice president of the Council on American Islamic Relations, another third front group for the Muslim Brotherhood. So everywhere you turn, Abdul El Sayed is connected directly with the Muslim Brotherhood here in the United States.
All right, your interview with Phil Bainey is amazing. He's a very unique individual. The United West knows him for over 10 years. He primarily was stationed at the Atlanta airport, and if somebody got stopped at passport control, he would be the individual they went to. He was an expert in profiling where you came from, what Islamic clan, what terrorist organization you can belong to. And sadly, he was shut down by the Obama administration. He became an official whistleblower before Congress, and as we know, has written the book, See Something, Say Nothing. So your interview is going extremely well. Let's get back to it.
Is there a precedent of the Muslim Brotherhood using the American political system to push Islam to influence American culture or Western civilization?
Yes, there is. That's a great question. I call it saturation, like water coming into a sponge. And the best recent example is the one we know of called the Arab Spring, which was a social political movement initially driven by the young people in Egypt. And when it reached a certain momentum, the Muslim Brotherhood literally came in and co-opted the whole political movement and redefined it as an Islamic movement for the sake of implementing Sharia law in Egypt. And they actually did it.
لكن الإمام البنا رحمة الله عليه قال لهم لا بل القرآن دستورنا بل القرآن دستورنا كان وسيبقى سيظل القرآن دستورنا القرآن دستورنا والرسول زعيمنا والجهاد سبيلنا والموت في سبيل الله أسمى أمانينا وفوق كل ذلك الله غايتنا الشريعة ثم الشريعة ثم الشريعة.
But there was a popular revolt. 30 million people rose up simultaneously and pushed Morsi out of the position as the leader of Egypt and put him in prison, along with the entire leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood. In co-opting that movement, they essentially overplayed their hand, and they showed to the whole world exactly what their intention was all along. The Arab Spring never was actually a social, secular political movement. It always was about implementing Sharia law.
So you just gave a global example. Are there any examples of the Muslim Brotherhood currently operating within the United States in an attempt to influence our political system?
Yes, well, they are Muslim Brotherhood. Let's start with CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations. Their office is literally a block, maybe two at the most, from the U.S. Capitol. And they actually have access to members of Congress and Senate on the Hill. And you say, well, shouldn't they have access? Well, the problem is that more than 10 years ago, or about 10 years ago, it was proven irrefutably in federal court under the Department of Justice that groups like CARE and ISNA and the Muslim Students and other Muslim Brotherhood front groups were irrefutably tied to support of Hamas. So there you have proven individuals, leaders of organizations, in federal court for more than 10 years that are literally walking up and down the halls of Congress, influencing members who are on committees either to vote for or against legislation that either favors the Muslim community and or would be detrimental in their worldview. So it's happening right in front of our eyes, and the leadership in the federal government, elected and law enforcement, have known this for more than 10 years. It's not a fact, it's not a problem that they don't know it. They do know it. That in itself is an evidence of influence, isn't it? To be able to continue operating openly when it's already been proven in federal court that they're tied to a globally designated terrorist organization.
As you were going through this wonderful interview with Philip Haney, really one of the nation's top experts, subject matter experts, qualified, what were your feelings about his nature and his demeanor?
Well, I was shocked, really, because it was my first time meeting Philip in Michigan, and when I first saw him, I would never have suspected that this guy had the amount of knowledge in his head that he does about Islamic terrorism, how to hunt terrorists down, how to profile terrorists, and I mean, the man's incredible. And when you see him, he just looks so innocent, right? But knowing that he's sitting across from you and profiling you and examining you, and he's an expert in speech patterns, all of these things, it was just such an honor working with him, really, because I learned so much and his perspective is invaluable.
Hey, very good job, Laura, in interviewing one of America's top subject matter experts. What is the summation of Philip Haney's conclusion?
Well, Mr. Haney's conclusion was very factual, it's very analytical, and ultimately what he concluded is that Abdul al-Said is personally Sharia compliant, and he's running to become the first Muslim governor of Michigan under a socialist Marxist political platform, right? I mean, it's outrageous. It's this combination of Marxism and Sharia to fundamentally transform Michigan as a state, which, you know, if you look at the individuals who he's working with, his imperfect team, you know, they're spread out all across the country, right? So this is an attempt to implement civilization jihad all across America.
There are plenty of publicly available connections that prove that Abdul al-Said is, let's just say, an active member of these Muslim Brotherhood front groups.
الجهاد سبيلنا والموت في سبيل الله أسمى أمانينا وفوق كل ذلك الله غايتنا الشريعة ثم الشريعة ثم الشريعة ولا خير في هذه الأمة ابشروا واطمئنوا فإن هذا الشعب لن يرضى عن مكتوب لا يعبر عن حقيقة ومعنى ومبنى الشريعة الإسلامية نصا وتطبيقا وبرنامجا لن يرضى بغير ذلك.
So Laura, in addition to sitting down with Philip Haney, you were able to sit down with Richard Manasiri, the head of Sharia Crime Stoppers, the guy who knows Marxist jihad in Michigan like no other person.
Yeah, it was a fascinating interview, and it was great speaking and collaborating with Richard on the ground in Michigan, because being a native of Michigan, he's able to see how this red-green alliance between these Sharia-compliant Muslims and the Marxists on the left are starting to transform his community in the state of Michigan. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Dick Manasiri. I'm a proud father and grandfather, resident of Michigan, and co-founder of Sharia Crime Stoppers. Sharia Crime Stoppers is an organization that is trying to resurrect training for local law enforcement so they can do their job. Local law enforcement wants to do their job, but they've had no training in topics like Sharia, jihad, sedition, honor violence, pedophilia, etc., related to the Sharia community in Michigan. So one of our goals across the country is to resurrect the training, which was removed under the Obama administration, so local law enforcement can understand that some parts of Sharia are criminal.
When you look at Abdul El-Sayed as a candidate, he's been positioned as a perfect man. How does a perfect man have such an imperfect team?
Well, it's interesting. Abdul has been identified by some people as Obama too. If you think about it, for some people, Obama was approaching sainthood in what he was trying to do. When you peel the onion, you find that his associations were very, very troublesome. So now we go to Abdul. Abdul's education was paid for by the Soros family. Paul and Dorothy Soros Foundation paid for his education. He's been endorsed by some really questionable people like Michael Moore and the woman that won the election in New York. I believe her name is Alexandra.
Hey friends, Abdul here. I'm with my good friend and mentor, Alexandria.
Hi guys, how are you? So excited to be here in Michigan. We are connecting the dots between the Bronx and Flint and Queens and Detroit because all of our issues are the same issues.
And what would you tell our friends on Facebook Live about what we need to do in the next 10 days?
All right, here's what it is, folks. The primary election is August 7th in Michigan, which means that we need to leave it all on the field between now and then.
These are people that are talking about a new wing, a far left wing to the Democratic Party. Abdul is on record saying he's left of left. He is probably left of Bernie Sanders, and he is getting support, and I think people should take him very seriously because he has a young millennial support like Bernie did, and he's even left of them. So he is part of the message, even on national television, about people of color redefining the Democratic Party. Well, you know, hopefully you have principles, you have things we can identify with, not just the color of your skin. Unfortunately, if you belong to a certain group, either a gay group or a black group, or you are identified as somehow, you adopt all of their values and you put that together, when in fact, we need to understand its principles. So the team that he's assembled that support him includes the Muslim Brotherhood, his father-in-law, Dawood Walid, CARE. So we've got a mixture of some pretty bad characters, but only if you care about things like personal safety. If you care more about diversity, he is perfect. If you have diversity at all costs, then you don't even worry about it. If you're concerned, however, about the way diversity in its extremes can lead to unsafe environments for you and your family, then he's surrounded himself with a diversity at all costs team, and some people think that's a major detriment to our own personal safety.
Does he really support diversity, though? Because if you look at some of the candidates who he's surrounded himself with, and you mentioned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a self-proclaimed socialist running in New York. You look at Linda Sarsour, you look at Keith Ellison, and the individuals who have endorsed him at CARE. All of these individuals have one thing in common, right? Their perpetual hatred for the state of Israel and the anti-Semitism and Jew hatred that they spout.
I think you've nailed it. They are haters in their own way. Israel is a major target for their hatred. They've been, it's part of their persona to come out and rally people. So you've got all of the student animosity towards Jews on American campuses. You've got the Muslim Student Association generating hatred for Jews.
Tell everyone about the flag.
So this is the Palestinian flag. In any other context, it would just be a national flag, but this is a very political flag. The reason why it's a very political flag is because Palestinians don't have a country to call their own.
We're denied entry into our own country. There are millions of refugees scattered all around the world from 1948 and from 1967, different times, and we're trying to end it. It's 70 years ongoing.
What do you think about the U.S. Embassy being in Jerusalem?
I think it's just a continuation of a policy that's existed for a long time, which is to deny Palestinians their natural rights to a capital.
What about Abdul? So that's the event you're here at today.
Right.
You're waving this Palestinian flag at the Abdul event.
Right.
So tell me about Abdul.
Abdul would be facing some legislation with regards to Palestine. There has been attempts by right-wing factions within political arenas in Michigan to advance a bill called the anti-BDS bill, which would prevent normal people from not buying products from Israel, from a land that occupies and kills.
What message, by waving the flag at this Abdul rally today, what message are you trying to spread?
We're sending a message clearly to the Israel lobby in the United States that preventing us from our First Amendment rights to boycott the state of Israel for its crimes against humanity with regards to Palestinians is a big no.
So you are supporting Abdul on August 7th?
Absolutely, yes.
But I want to extend that. Not only are there haters of Israel, they're haters of America. Most of these people think the U.S. Constitution is a flawed document. It's a document, it's a racist document. And so unfortunately, Abdul has surrounded himself with people on his imperfect team that have been promoting anti-Americanism as well as anti-Israel.
How should the Jewish and the Christian, the atheist, right, the non-religious voters in Michigan feel about possibly having a Muslim governor?
To do any kind of research, you would understand that Islam is a theocracy. It is a political movement with a veneer of religion. And so the political movement, by the way, happens to be totalitarian. So if it's totalitarian, in a sense, Islam, the left and Islam share this mentality that there's an elite group of people who can tell everybody else how to behave, and that we can all coexist because there's an elite group of people who in a totalitarian way can tell us what to do. Well, that means that you and I will have less free speech. You and I would not be able to have this interview probably if the regime of Abdul, maybe the second or third year, they would come after people like us because we're having a conversation. We are critical of Islam. Well, that's not acceptable. And so Jewish people are an early target of Islam from the very beginning, from 622, and Christians from 628. War was declared against the Jews and the Christians. Those are the people of the book. So the Quran talks about the people of the book. That's the enemy, and to the extent that Sharia needs to take over the world, people who follow the book, Old Testament or New Testament, are in fact the enemy, and the hatred there is visible. It's not really that much below the surface.
Excellent work, Laura, excellent work. And look, ladies and gentlemen, what we have is Marxist jihad in Michigan, and as Laura has indicated in this investigation, and with 5 or 10 people in Michigan working with us, with the United West team, the conclusion is very simple. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Said and his imperfect team, as you said, Laura, their desire is to revolutionize the state of Michigan and remake it into some third world country in an amazing fashion. It's almost beyond belief. Well, stay tuned. We have much more for you in further segments. Laura, thank you for your amazing work. And you want to rock and roll with us again sometime?
Of course,
All right.
of course.
We'll do it. Stay tuned, folks. All right, there you have our investigative expose, which has documented this bizarre coalition of the hard left, the Marxist socialist left, joining together with the green axis, Islamic theocratic superiority supremacy. This coalition seeks to revolutionize the economic stability of the state of Michigan. It seeks to gain more control over private property, enlarge the government, open up the state to complete open borders and sanctuary status of immigrants from all over the world, in fact, remake the state of Michigan. It also seeks to join this red-green coalition together to help destabilize Israel in the Middle East and advance Islamic superiority in the Middle East. All of this has to come under consideration by the good voters in Michigan. Do you want your 101-year-old state, founded on Judeo-Christian principles, to continue along in a capitalistic Judeo-Christian direction? Or do you want to hand over your beautiful state, the Wolverine state, to those hell-bent on destroying it, remaking it in such a way that no one who loved Michigan would ever want to live there again? The vote is all yours in August 2018.
لكن الإمام البنا رحمة الله عليه قال لهم لا، بل القرآن دستورنا، بل القرآن دستورنا كان وسيبقى، سيظل القرآن دستورنا، القرآن دستورنا، والرسول زعيمنا، والجهاد سبيلنا، والموت في سبيل الله أسمى أمانينا، وفوق كل ذلك الله غايتنا. الشريعة ثم الشريعة ثم الشريعة. دستورنا، القرآن دستورنا، والرسول زعيمنا، والجهاد سبيلنا، والموت في سبيل الله أسمى أمانينا، وفوق كل ذلك الله غايتنا. الشريعة ثم الشريعة ثم الشريعة، ولا خير في هذه الأمة. ابشروا واطمئنوا، فإن هذا الشعب لن يرضى عن مكتوب لا يعبر عن حقيقة ومعنى ومبنى الشريعة الإسلامية نصا وتطبيقا وبرنامجا، لن يرضى بغير ذلك.
How can someone like Abdul Rahman Mohammed Al Said practice personal Sharia in his own life, but then be running on a platform promoting ideas that are completely oppositional to Sharia?
Sharia is totally incompatible with democracy. The way that this happens is that in Sharia and the Sunnah, that Muhammad instructed Muslims that they could use taqiyya, which is the doctrine of deception. And so everything coming out of any Muslim politician or candidate's mouth is lying. Taqiyya is the doctrine of deception. And in the defense of Islam and the rules of al-Hijra, which is the doctrine of immigration, all Muslims must immigrate to a non-Muslim country and eventually turn it Muslim under Islamic Sharia. That is the purpose of al-Sayyid, of anyone that is Muslim running. They will use the LGBTQ community. They will use liberals. But those will be the first to go, as we know from history, where Sharia has taken hold of the culture and government.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Dick Manaseri. I'm a proud father and grandfather, resident of Michigan, and co-founder of Sharia Crime Stoppers. Sharia Crime Stoppers is an organization that is trying to resurrect training for local law enforcement so they can do their job. Local law enforcement wants to do their job, but they've had no training in topics like Sharia, jihad, sedition, honor violence, pedophilia, etc., related to the Sharia community in Michigan. So one of our goals across the country is to resurrect the training, which was removed under the Obama administration, so local law enforcement can understand that some parts of Sharia are criminal.
When did you create Sharia Crime Stoppers?
I would say we're about 2 years into it, and we became concerned when we realized that women are property. It's that simple. Women are property if you practice Sharia. Well, if women are property, that would open up the door to activity which might be sanctioned under Sharia, but would in fact be criminal. An example might be polygamy, it might be child brides, it might actually be terrible things like female genital mutilation, and so on. Our position is that it's in an advanced state of Sharia saturation, and that's why it's important to understand implications for everyday living amongst people who have a different approach to right and wrong in terms of normal behavior, like things as terrible as rape. It's a different concept of something as fundamental as women are property, and therefore things like rape have there's a different approach to that. So we want people to understand it, and we're frankly concerned about crime that is misdiagnosed. The justice system works, but only if people understand and are trained in what Sharia sanctioned behavior is that is in fact criminal under the Constitution, but under state law as well.
At what point during your 10 years here in Michigan did you first realize or recognize signs of Sharia in your community?
I think the refugee resettlement program got our attention. Why was Michigan getting 12% of the Syrian refugees coming into Michigan? People paid attention to the whole notion of Syria as a destabilized country without records. So despite the fact that the State Department would tell us that they have a fantastic process to vet these refugees, the facts are that there's no data. There's no data when you have a country that's in disarray. So people were being brought into Michigan, 12% of a number. So in a given year, there might be 12,000 Syrian refugees. Well, that means we were getting 12% of that number into one state. Why was that? Well, of course, part of the reason is the previous generations of resettlement into Michigan established beachheads so that people were being sent here because of the affinity with the Arab community. Unfortunately, we also know that 98%, and these are the kind of things we studied, it's public information, 98% of the refugees from Syria are Muslims. they're Shia or Sunni Muslims, self-identified and stored in the database. So we started counting. We started looking at counties to see if counties were getting, let's say, an overload of refugees. And the answer is yes. The 3 counties in southeast Michigan have been getting a large quantity of Syrian refugees. That's just an example. Of course, there were other refugees. There were Christian refugees that came in waves earlier than that. But why were we getting an enormous proportion of the Muslim refugees into this area? And so we started studying that. We then discovered there are 140 mosques in Michigan. Well, then we did some research. What's a mosque? Historically, a mosque is a seat of government. And so historically, now we learned about Sharia. We learned, for example, that Sharia is certainly religious. Maybe 10, 15, 20% is religious, how to pray, when to fast. But 75, 80% of it is behavior, is political, and how to behave on a very detailed level. And some of the things in the behavior category that have nothing to do with religion are, in fact, not just things we're not comfortable with, they're actual crimes. And so that shocked us. So we did the math, 140 mosques. It's a different seat of government. And the other comment would be, we learned that each of these imams in every one of these 140 mosques is supreme. They are the judge, the jury, the teacher. And so the mosque itself, in fact, is a seat of government. We have 140 of them in Michigan. There's an overabundance of them, and therefore we realize people leave the mosque, they go home, they live with the door closed or in their community, they're living the things that are being taught to them. And that tells them how to approach women. So the whole topic really here is inequality of women. I have 3 daughters, I have 2 granddaughters, equal protection under the law. Women, but not if you're understanding Sharia. So there's a danger sign, and that got us into this conversation of learning and teaching people about Sharia.
Is Sharia law in Michigan?
Sharia law is in Michigan. We've had leaders of organizations like CARE say that it is, but we just take it at face value. Sharia is an intense collection of how to behave. If you get trained in Sharia, you know how to behave in all these different ways, including, again, that women are property. You are trained as a young child, as a male child, women are property. As a female child, women are property, multiple wives, etc. So who does that training? The imam. How many imams do we have in Michigan? We have 140 of them. They're in buildings. Each building costs $5 to $10 million. This is a serious commitment to maintain an ideology called Sharia. So we know that people leave the mosque after being trained by the imam. They go home and they practice Sharia.
Abdul El-Sayed, who's running to be the next governor of Michigan, he himself practices Sharia in his own personal life. But then he's running on a political campaign of socialist and Marxist values. How do you explain that conflict that exists?
I think the way to explain that is Sharia itself. Sharia encourages taqiyya. Taqiyya is the act of lying. So as a young child, you were trained, in my family, lying was the first thing we were told is bad. Don't lie. As a little child, you're taught that. In a Sharia family, you are instructed by your father and the imam. Lying is acceptable if it promotes the movement of Sharia. In order to install Sharia in my community or my country or my state, I can lie. And I am rewarded for lying in the name of promotion of Islam and Sharia. So the answer to the question is Abdul, as a Sharia compliant person, is perfectly, in his own conscience, he's doing a good thing when he lies and says he's in favor of LGBT rights, when in fact Islam would not propose that. So he is in fact a good practicing Sharia person because he is practicing Sharia. He's lying to the people who are considering voting for him.
Are you concerned as a Michigan voter that if Abdul El-Sayed is elected as the governor of Michigan, that he will implement aspects of Sharia law in Michigan?
I think that's a very good bet, and here's an example. He wants to make Michigan a sanctuary state. Well, if you make Michigan the entire state a sanctuary state, you have completely broken with the U.S. Constitution, which of course says that immigration is a federal issue and that law enforcement needs to cooperate with federal officers in immigration. If you take that out, you are breaking with the Constitution, which says the Constitution is not really that important. The residents can pick and choose parts of the Constitution. So maybe maybe it's even more acceptable to introduce another constitution That's called Sharia. So you normalize Sharia by breaking your allegiance to the whole Constitution, and one way to do that is sanctuary state, which is its policy. The other observation is, you can just look at London. London is a city in a Western country that has changed dramatically. The 9 million people in London elected Sadiq Khan as their mayor. The 9 million people in Michigan could elect Abdul as their mayor. What has happened in London? London has had a massive increase of separation of people who are not friendly towards each other, no-go zones, and of course an increase in crime. We're focused on an increase in crime. You can just do the statistics. Look at the crime wave in Europe. So massive immigration, open borders, sanctuary. Germany is a sanctuary country. Sweden is a sanctuary country. Abdul wants to make us a sanctuary state. What happens when you inject people, particularly tribal-oriented people that have their own law system, you end up with a different environment. So Abdul is promoting a level of lawlessness that people who like law and order should be concerned about. So we're concerned about the personal safety of individual people, and as we've said, that would primarily be women and children who would be less safe under Abdul.
If Abdul El-Sayed is elected as governor of Michigan, should the people of Michigan fear for their safety?
If it's okay to have multiple wives, if it's okay to marry 11 and 12-year-old girls to older men, if it's okay to honor the family by taking, so for example, a 50-year-old girl runs away. Well, that happens all the time. Social services, the police bring her back and put her in her family. If that's a Sharia family, the repercussions are really bad. She will either commit suicide or be sent away in a forced marriage, or God forbid, she'll be the victim of an honor killing. That is the way Sharia people think. That's what people are being trained in Michigan, and that's why Abdul, in normalizing that behavior, making that a choice, you can ignore the Constitution, you can practice Sharia, can't we all just get along? Well, that's a very dangerous situation from women and girls who live across the street from people that are practicing Sharia.
To the men and women who work on the assembly line here in Michigan, to the housewives, to the women who are at home raising their children, to the white and blue collar workers in Michigan, why should or shouldn't they vote for Abdul El-Sayed for governor?
I think if they believe in law and order, they should be concerned. There's definitely a dismantling of law and order when you can't even come up with a common law. So when you introduce multiple laws like sanctuary state or potentially Sharia, you complicate life. If you look at the people who wake up every day and go in London and try to do their job and move around, they are seriously confined by the increase of no-go zones, by the increase of crime. There are acid attacks. There are things that we would never even think of, and that's a function of the dismantling of law and order. If law and order people cannot be trained to do their job, if they have to avoid the whole concepts of Sharia, we basically have a reduction in law and order. The bottom line is people are not as safe. Under Abdul, women and children will not be as safe as they are today. They will be incrementally exposed to crime. We think it's crime. Sharia folks do not think it's crime. The one-word answer, the one-phrase answer is women are property, and that will become increasingly acceptable under an Abdul regime.
If you could send one message to the voters of Michigan and one warning, one battle cry for help, what would that be?
I think people need to remember how important law and order are and make sure they do not vote for a candidate who would make law and order less practical, less implementable, who would make it like a lawless environment. And to me, that's a major challenge. So if you believe in law and order, if you're a family person and you're concerned about your children, you have to be very, very careful about inviting a person who has a total different mindset on what's right and what's wrong, and who associates themselves with people who are, we use the word Antifa. Lawlessness is coming our way unless we reestablish the rule of law by voting for people who support that. And Abdul clearly, in my opinion, would be a step backward for women and children relative to their own safety.
Hey guys, Laura Loomer here. I'm about to show you the creepiest and the scariest endorsement for governor that was caught on camera that you'll ever see in your life. Check it out.
When I think about building power, I think about brothers like Abdus Sayyid, who is in this room today, who is running to be the first Muslim governor of the state of Michigan. He can't, sisters and brothers, he's a wonderful brother. He's an inspiring brother. He is well qualified to be the next governor of Michigan, but he can't do that without you. That brother not only does he need your mashallah and bismillah and dua, he needs your money. And to my favorite person in this room, because that's mutual, is Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who has been a mentor, a motivator, an encourager of mine, someone who has taught me to speak truth to power and not worry about the consequences, someone who has taught me that we are on this earth to please Allah and only Allah, that we are not here to please any man or woman on this earth. So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj, and you might think this is weird, but every once in a while when I get into that deep, dark place, Imam Siraj comes and talks to me. And that he helps me to emerge out of those spaces. So I'm grateful to you, Imam Siraj. May Allah bless you and protect you and keep you for a long time for our community, because we need you now more than ever.
As you can see, there's some pretty scary and disturbing things going on in Linda Sarsour's head. But what's even more disturbing and scarier than that is the fact that Abdul El Sayed, who's currently running to become the first Muslim governor of Michigan, didn't distance himself from Sarsour, even after she expressed admiration and support for Siraj Wahhaj, who was a co-conspirator in the 1993 attempt to blow up the World Trade Center in New York. Siraj once said, "It's my duty and our duty as Muslims to replace the United States Constitution with the Quran." But wait, there's more. What's even more disturbing than that is the fact that El Sayed brought Linda Sarsour on to be his de facto campaign manager. Yes, you heard that correctly. His de facto campaign manager. Why should Jewish individuals like myself and others in Michigan vote for a guy who practices a faith that calls for Jews and Christians to be killed? The Jewish individuals in Michigan, the Jewish community would like to know.
Why individuals? I'll answer that. I'll answer that. Israel does not affect the
I'm not talking about. Do you understand that
on.
Jewish people live in America, not
I
just
understand
Israel?
that. I understand
Do you understand that Christian people live
I
in this country?
understand that too.
Christians
And I
are the
understand that
majority.
people that does not have that does not practice husband.
I didn't.
No,
I
you
asked
are,
him a
because
question.
he is Muslim. No.
But I asked him a question.
He is Muslim and you're
So
pushing.
I gave him a chance to answer my question. I'm not being Islamophobic. I simply asked if the faith that he practices calls for the killing of Jews and Christians, and it calls for women to be treated like second-class citizens. I believe that women should have equal rights to men. Something that they
You're
don't
not
have.
you're not speaking as Americans. You're speaking like you live in a theocracy when you don't.
Nothing to do with religion. Have you been to some of these communities? There are young girls in Michigan who are being subjected. That is supported by Islam.
That's why religion shouldn't matter. That is not supported. That's why religion shouldn't matter. He is not trying to implement. I don't care what the Quran
Well,
says.
you should. You should. But there were studies, a Pew study showed that majority of Muslims in this country would rather live under Sharia law than the United States Constitution.
That's their choice.
No, it's not. Because if you're living in America, I uphold the United States Constitution, not Sharia law. So how do you think that the Muslims living here in Michigan who see him, promoting this platform, this political platform that obviously is oppositional to Sharia, do you think that they understand that, he is practicing taqiyya in order to get Western support for his candidacy?
Absolutely. You see, the things that are told in front of non-Muslims are not the same things that are shared inside of the mosques. For example, it was a constant thing around my family. My dad was not an observant Muslim. He was very westernized by all standards. And I've never even seen him open a Quran at home. But when it came to other people who were not Muslims who were around us, when we, for example, went to the mosque on Eid, if non-Muslims were around, then it would be all love and peace and please and come and visit and we'd love to tell you about Muhammad and Islam. But when they turn around, oh, kafar. One day we'll take over the United States. One day the flag of Islam will fly over Washington or the White House. So it's like a different world. Inside our world, yet very separate.
I just had a question for you. I just wanted to know how you reconcile your own personal practice of Islamic law with your Marxist socialist political platform that directly contradicts tenets within Islamic law.
My faith is about what I choose to do with my life, right? I think that's what faith is. It's a choice that people make about how they live their life.
You didn't answer the question because under Islam, for example, gays are punished by death.
I don't know that that's true.
Gays are stoned, so gays are not allowed to enter buildings in the Middle East. You yourself said that you are a Sharia compliant Muslim.
I didn't say that.
Well, you said that your head touches the floor 34 times a day.
I choose to pray.
We're done.
Right.
And I think we're done. How to live
Are
their
you
life.
denying that your religion tells people how to love? And
I don't know what you mean by my religion.
Ma'am, I'm a Chaldean American.
I don't know what you mean by my
I'm
religion.
speaking to him.
I know, but you're kind of saying
there's a long
some
list.
Excuse me,
rhetoric.
we have other people who'd like to talk to him.
Something up.
I would like to speak to the candidate. I mean,
You had enough time to speak to the candidate.
But why doesn't he want to answer my question?
Because they're people.
Ma'am,
I want to know why Jewish
you're
individuals.
repeating rhetoric.
Why should Jewish individuals like myself vote for a candidate
Why
who practices
should- why
an
should-
ideology
why
that
should
calls
a
for the
Muslim-
killing of
why
Jews
should a
and
Muslim-
Christians?
why-
So, can you explain how a person like Abdul Rahman Muhammad Al Said can practice personal Sharia in his own life? Because he says that his head touches the ground 34 times a day, but then he himself is campaigning to legalize marijuana, right? He's in favor of women having abortions. He said that he is pro-LGBTQ. Is that Sharia?
That is Sharia in the concept that it is just furthering the cause of Islam and getting him into office. I mean, we've seen, for example, Linda Sarsour, who endorsed him, saying the exact same things. Now, one thing to point out is that all of these things will make him more popular and it'll get people to trust him and think that he is westernized. But even his beard is Sharia compliant. When you look at how he grows it out and how he cuts it, his wife is Sharia compliant in the way that she wears her hijab. So it's very troubling to see that.
conservative journalist Laura Loomer.
Independent investigative journalist Laura Loomer.
A former Project Veritas journalist, Laura Loomer.
Investigative reporter Laura Loomer.
Laura Loomer.
You may have recently heard the name Laura Loomer. You're thinking, where did I hear that name?
Hey, Mr. Acosta. How's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
All right. You guys here to report some more fake news CNN today?
Hi, Chelsea. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Because this book's for everyone, including women who have wanted to speak up but have been told to quiet down, can you sign it for my friend Juanita Broderick because she's been silenced by your parents, especially Bill Clinton, who's a rapist? Can you sign it for her? You criticize Donald Trump for trying to protect our country, and then you're going to have the nerve to come out here and act like you want to report the truth? You guys are fake news, Anderson! Fake news!
Did you see this piece of video? I saw it on Drudge yesterday. It was posted by investigative reporter Laura Loomer, who is a Trump supporter, and because Maxine Waters said go out and confront members of the president's cabinet, she decided to go out and confront Maxine Waters. Watch this.
Please come to my office and talk with me. Where can we
We'll
eat?
be happy to talk with
Where
you.
can a conservative eat at a restaurant in
Please
D.C.?
come to my office and talk.
I'm
and be
asking you
civil.
right now.
Please come to my
This is
office and
civil.
talk with
You're
me.
talking about civility. Do you think it's civil to call for the
Please
harassment
come
of
to
Trump
my
officials?
office and sit down and
No,
talk
I'm asking
with
you
me.
right now.
Will you please come
Are we
to my
supposed to
office
sit
and
at the
talk?
back of the bus?
And so she got into that elevator, which was for members only, and they wouldn't let Laura into it. So what do you make of that, Michelle?
Well, first I have to say kudos to Laura Loomer for turning the tables and giving a little small dose of Maxine Waters' own medicine right back at her. You didn't play it there, but at the end, my favorite part is looking at Maxine Waters' smug smile as she retreats into the sanctuary of the members-only elevator.
This is members only. This elevator is members only.
It's a members elevator. Ma'am, it's a members elevator. Ma'am, it's a ma'am. Ma'am, it's a...
Mr. Cuomo, I have a quick question for you. Why did you delete a tweet in which you were encouraging the extortion of a Reddit user who posted a meme about CNN?
There was no encouraging any extortion.
Don't you think it's free speech?
You heard what I said, right?
But you guys accuse Trump of bullying. Hey, Mr. Comey. Hey, how is it ethical to brief the President of the United States on an unverifiable and salacious dossier? And how is it ethical leadership to not tell him that his political opposition, Hillary Clinton, paid for that? You didn't disclose that information. Why didn't you disclose to President Trump that his opposition paid for the material? You are not an ethical leader. Today, Mr. Comey, 11 lawmakers, Mr. Comey, today filed a criminal referral against you. Linda, you tweeted that there's nothing creepier than Zionism.
Okay, can you please leave? Thank you.
How do you expect to give a lecture about anti-Semitism when you tweeted that there's nothing creepier than Zionism?
Laura Loomer confronted Hillary Clinton about the missing emails at her book signing.
Hi, it's so great to see you.
Well, it's great for you to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. So the American people would really like to know what happened to your 33,000 emails? What happened in Benghazi?
Go read the book.
What happened to the millions of dollars that was supposed to go to the people in Haiti?
You know what? I'm so sorry you believe things that are untrue.
Joseph Lombardo said this guy, Stephen Paddock, the shooter, checked into the Mandalay Bay Hotel September 28th. So then I started digging some more, and I discovered that he actually checked in on the 25th. And I was able to receive confirmation in the form of valet receipts. They're not being honest. They are conducting a misinformation campaign regarding this Las Vegas massacre. And I confronted them at their press conference.
There have been receipts that have been obtained from the valet security system to show that
Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay?
It says that he checked in on the 25th. Has your timeline changed?
Please stop asking your question.
She basically forced him to change his official timeline.
And everybody's watching her, but she's looking at you.
Yesterday on this program, I drew an analogy to the modern-day left and what they're doing, and I said they are the modern equivalent of slave plantations. And now you have Maxine Waters, you have the owner of that Red Hen Little Shack restaurant telling customers, you are not welcome here. We don't want your kind. It's no different than Rosa Parks being told to get off the bus. No different than Rosa Parks refusing to sit at the back of the bus. But this is still a bunch of people. We don't like your kind. Your kind are inferior to us. We don't want you anywhere near us. Get out. Well, there is a young female journalist, conservative journalist, by the name of Laura Loomer. We have referenced her on this program before. Last night in Washington, she caught up with Maxine Waters and had a little chat with her about where conservatives are allowed to go. This is in the halls of the Capitol. It's audio soundbite number 26, and here we go.
I just wanted to ask you, where are conservatives allowed to go? Are there separate... Do we sit at the back of the bus? Supposed to sit at the back of the bus? Are we supposed to sit at the back of the bus?
This elevator is members only.
It's a members elevator. Ma'am, it's a members elevator.
It even happened there. You're not good enough to get on my elevator. It's members only. You can't come. You can't play my golf course. You can't get into my elevator. You can't. You know, Ray, please come to my office and talk. And if she ever did go to her office and talk, the door would be shut. Or else there'd be a camera crew there with Maxine having already made a statement, with Loomer walking into a trap not knowing what she was running. But this is an excellent way to illustrate the point.
No more lies. No more bullshit. We the people demand full disclosure. We elected you to do a duty. You said you were going to lock certain people up if you were elected. You have yet to do that. Uphold your oath. We the people demand it. Please, Mr. President, we deserve the truth. We the people demand full disclosure of the OIG report. No more lies. We want the truth. We deserve the truth. No more lies.
And everybody's watching her, but she's looking at you.